3, 2, 1, and we're live with Raven. How's it going, Raven?
Pretty good, thank you. You?
Awesome, we're doing great. I'm so excited for this. What is this? 3 Unworldly Encounters podcast numero 3. Welcome everybody at home. I see we have some friendly faces in the chat already. Let's give a big round of applause and big thanks for Raven for coming out. Can we get some hype in the chat for the folks that are here? Come on, folks. I know you want to. We're getting excited here. At least I'm getting excited. I think Raven is as well. I'm getting excited. We have a great podcast tonight. We're going to be talking about all things spooky and spectrally, hopefully. We'll have to see about it. But Raven is from White Noise Paranormal Group. She is the owner or co-owner, and she is joining us here this evening to start a discussion, I guess. I don't know. What do you think, Raven?
I'm ready.
Oh yeah, you ready? You ready for crazy in-depth, hopefully in-depthful, is that even a word, in-depthful? In-depth, we'll go with in-depth conversation. You know, where are you at? How's the weather? How are things? What's going on with you?
Oh, well, it was 87 degrees here today. Very hot. I'm in Arlington, Washington.
Nice. So just south of us, a couple hours south of us here. So not too terribly far away.
No.
And just nice weather, good things. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, let's see. I'm the owner, co-owner of White Noise Paranormal. We also own Firole TV, which is a web-based TV service. We're on Amazon and Roku. It's basically for independent filmmakers like ourselves. We have web series. We have a couple like full-length movies all over from India, a lot of Australian content.
Well, hold on, Australia. Now that is pretty darn cool. I may have to join you for an Australian trip.
Yeah. The Australian stuff's pretty good.
Yeah.
We have an Aussie invasion section. It should be done by Friday, so if everybody wants to check it out, it's free. And we take new submissions, and if you're a filmmaker looking to support your work, it's a great place other than YouTube, because like we say, YouTube, it's great, but for filmmakers it's really hard because you kind of get lost in the cat videos.
Yes, you can definitely get lost in the cat videos without a doubt.
Yeah. So you got to put yourself out there to as many platforms as you can, is my understanding, and how we've done in the past. The more people see you, the better. And I see a lot of people, these new filmmakers that just want to just hold on to their stuff and only put it on one thing, but you put your eggs in just one basket.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, though, if we're talking like filmmaking, that you would think you would want it across every platform for everyone to see, right? I mean, we probably should diversify this podcast, as we're only on 2 platforms, Twitch and YouTube. And I'm sitting here thinking, like, what am I doing? Why am I not just throwing this everywhere, right? I mean, it wasn't intentional. I was just like, I have partnerships with Twitch and YouTube already, so might as well utilize them. But that's a good idea. And you're right. What does it hurt? It doesn't hurt anything or anyone just to throw it up everywhere,
especially if you're independent. You need that viewership, and just putting it on YouTube, and I realize that people want to do that because of the monetization part of it. Sure. And that's a big thing.
It really is a big thing. I mean, so you put in all this effort, and I'm sure you've how long have you been doing this for, Raven?
We started doing white noise videos probably 11 years ago. So
11 years, and I'm sure you've been investigating for a lot longer than that, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so you've been investigating for a long time. So, and how long have you been investigating just to do it because it's your love and passion? I mean, you don't get paid to go out and investigate every single investigation, I assume, right? So, right. I mean, so yeah, in order to keep up with equipment, I mean, in the past 11 years, I mean, and I'm sure our viewers at home will agree, in the past 11 years, how much has technology advanced and changed, right? And if you think about it, if you can acquire better equipment to produce better videos and better, I don't know, you always see UFO get people with photos and it's all grainy and crappy and there's never a clear UFO photo, right? It's like, well, maybe now we're in a different age, and it's hard to create that revenue in order to purchase this equipment. You know, people are like, oh, why don't you get a thermal camera and go out and get it? If it, you know, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll drop. Yeah, yeah, 5K for a thermal camera, like, yeah, for the lower end ones. Like, sure, you bet, you know. You know, not everybody, and this is gonna be a dig at Skinwalker Ranch, not everybody has a Bigelow aerospace industry where they can and gain $2.2 million investments from the, or not investments, I guess, what do they call that, grant from the U.S. government. You know, not everybody gets a $2.2 million grant, and some people are interested and want to study this. So, you know, being able to monetize is huge, you know, and get your name out there. Bottom line, it's a big deal. So
yeah, because you can't charge people to investigate. I mean, it's kind of, you know, that's a big, very, very sore subject in the paranormal community.
It is.
Yeah. Because I mean, you know, why were people, you know, charging? Because I mean, we don't even know what we're dealing with ourselves. So how are we supposed to charge somebody for something that is not really known?
Right. Yeah. So you're supposed to charge, you know, it's one, in my opinion, if there's an entity or a larger corporation that's trying to gain some information or proprietary knowledge on the subject, and they want to utilize your services for that, I think that's okay. I think them paying you for that is okay. You know,
but, you know, there's been groups out there that kind of prey on the vulnerable. It's kind of like the psychic biz, you know, you prey on people that, you know, are hurting. They want to talk to their dead loved one, whatever. And it's kind of sad.
You know, that's a weird thing, something that you brought up as well. I've met and interacted and worked with a lot of different psychics throughout my time as well. And it's strange because there's some that I have no doubt in my mind, or there's something that's not normal. There's something paranormal or something beyond that is, I wouldn't say give them information, but there's people out there that seem to be more in tune and understand things that end up being right all the time, more than it is just a coincidence. And then I see a lot of people out there that are pretty much BSing. They're pretty much, you know, you could see it happen. They read you and they're doing really wild guesses in order to kind of tune in on who you are. And, you know, it's strange because I've kind of seen it from both sides, and I don't know how I fully feel about psychics, because I truly have seen some things where I'm just like, there's no way, you know. And then there's other times where I'm like, okay, like, you're full of it, bro, you know.
And it's a money grab. I mean, like my psychology teacher said, if it was such a, you know, a scientific thing or such a rare thing, there wouldn't be more psychics in the yellow pages back in the days than there was plumbers.
Yes, I absolutely agree with you on that. You know, I'm sitting here thinking as well, I'm thinking back on all of the declassified programs that the CIA worked on, and some of the black budget operations that have now come to surface over the last 20 years, more specifically when it's been proven as factual information released from these different agencies that you know, things like MK Ultra was a real program, and they really were studying psychic abilities, or US government really was studying psychic abilities. So whether they're going to expose the results of that or give credence to it, we don't really know, but it's interesting nonetheless to think about that, or at least our government thought enough of it being a real subject that they wanted to invest money into it, right?
Yeah.
So,
and I mean, there are people that, you know, like you said, that are probably pretty legit, but it's kind of sad because it kind of undermines, you know, the people that are fake undermine the people that are legit.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, so imagine there is one person out there who truly is psychic and has seen things that nobody else has seen, and they're being drowned out by the you know, 4,999 other people around them that are pretending to be psychic as well. So it's like, if there really was one out there, like, that would probably be almost worse than actually being psychic, is nobody believing you're actually psychic, right?
Exactly. And we don't use them on our team because we always just kind of figured that, you know, why, you know, use the paranormal to study the paranormal.
Right. And it's funny you mention that. Now that I'm thinking back on it, I feel as though it almost tainted results to have a psychic on your team. When I would go out with a team of scientists, I've worked with PhDs, and when we've gone out and investigated, it was very scientifically backed. It was very, You know, this is we're not going to use our feelings on this. We're going to use data. We're going to use our instruments to give us the data from a baseline, from a neutral baseline. And that's basically, you know, everything we did had a neutral baseline to it as well. We'd go for every spot that we thought we would find weird stuff, we would have to go to 4 to 5 other locations and do the same thing or whatever we were doing to gain those readings, right? You know, and when I would go out with psychics, it was always this, oh, I feel something's off or something's weird or something's happening. And I'm like, okay, what should we do? Like, how do we, like, you know, what do we do here then? I don't know. I just feel it. I'm like, okay, well, you know, I'm not saying that you're full of it, because maybe you really do. However, it's very hard for me to gain any type of data to distribute from that, right? So it's just it's hard, and I hear where you're coming from on that, because it can be a difficult decision. At the same time, I do feel as though there is a time and place to have a real psychic and even a fake psychic, to be honest with you. It's always nice to have you, somebody you know, maybe pulling some wool over our eyes. You know, it's an interesting topic of conversation, and that I've noticed that if it depends on what kind of investigation you're on, but if you're dealing with something that might be out of this world a little bit, truly out of this world, people who fake and are BSing seem to want to provoke or almost get people riled up or get things happening, I would say. So, and
you know, I don't have anything against him, but you know, at the same time, it's just, I just smile, and if somebody comes, you know, that says they're psychic or has feelings, I let them do their thing normally. But I don't put them down or anything. I mean,
no, sure.
It's their deal, you know. It's, I don't know. It can be a subject in the paranormal field, let me tell you that one.
Oh yeah. There's a lot of weird sore subjects. There's a lot of politics that people don't like to talk about. There's a lot of politics.
Oh, don't get me going.
We could probably do a whole show just on the politics of
After 10 years of being in this field, I can tell you a lot. And
I'm sure you've ran into all sorts of people. You know, there are some true kind-hearted folks in the community, and there are some that are looking for the fame and fortune, and that's very evident. But you know, I'm hoping that everyone has the same goal in mind, and that's to explain the unknown and explain things that aren't normally explained in mainstream society. But
at the same time, you have to remember that this is a field that is still new, still not validated. So it's kind of like, remember the bone wars back in the 1800s?
Right, yeah, okay.
So you've got this competition to be the first person to do this. And so people can say about paranormal unity all they want, but really it is still a competition.
Yeah.
And that's why it can get ugly. And that's why paranormal unity was created, because of this ugliness. You know, the competition to be that first one.
Yeah,
it's scientific, you know, break.
Yeah. Do you think it's because people want to be like the one that catches a real ghost or something, and then they get the fame and fortune in the history books? They want to go down in history. Okay, I see. So
like the Bone Wars, you know, that, you know, you got one guy over here trying to sabotage the other guy over here.
Yeah.
Just so, I mean, it's a pretty funny thing if the viewers out there could ever like look into it. It's pretty hilarious. It's, you know, anthropology back in the day, you know, naming the dinosaurs. And
oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah, so you know, of course, everybody wanted to be the one to put together the Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Right, or they want to go to the Amazon and find this undiscovered tribe that's been hidden away for, you know, 1,500 years. Like, you know, yeah, I totally see where you're coming from now on that. Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, there is that point, and then, you know, paranormal unity is great. It's great for some people. Other people, like, over the years, I've learned to just try to kind of keep to ourselves. It's the best and safest thing to do. Right. Because I've reached out a lot with other teams in the area. Sometimes it goes great. Sometimes it goes sideways really quick.
Oh, so, that's gonna be rough. You know, I imagine working side by side. Well, let's not get into that. I can see us going down a negative trail on that, but you know, it's difficult. I have experienced multiple times what you're talking about. I've always not necessarily to me. I've watched it happen to other people, and it's kind of a sad deal. And that I do think that it needs to be talked about at some point. I think that there is a lot of negativity that kind of comes along with this field, and I believe a lot of it is because of the negativity surrounded by the news media and the national media. and mainstream science. If everybody else makes fun of you all the time and is always putting you down, and they're always giving negative, almost false narratives on this I want to call it a science. I think calling it a science is a fair conclusion on where I've concluded, at least, on it.
Yeah, because eventually we're going to get there.
We're going to, yeah. There is something to it, in my opinion. There's definitely something to it. To what degree, I don't know. I really don't. And I guess that's part of this podcast, is for me to hopefully talk to enough people where I can gain enough insight and information on it. But with White Noise Paranormal, let me ask you this. What was your mainstream investigative style? Like, what did you folks go for? Or let's talk about your team first, I guess. Let's hear about your team so everyone knows who, kind of the team dynamics and what you do. And I guess, I don't know, whatever you want to talk about with your team and how you investigate or what you use and cool things like that.
Well, we are, you probably know, I've sent you videos. We document all of ours, from film, and we make, webisodes out of them. So there's a lot of filming involved. So people have to kind of not only be diverse in the paranormal, but they have to put up with, directors telling them what to do. And I mean, not, like scream at a certain point or anything, but, stand over here, get together more, be in the shot type deal,
Yeah.
Because I mean, we literally film probably, like 8 or 10 hours worth of film, and we have to sift through that.
Wow. 8 to 10 per investigation, like every night. So if you go somewhere like, I don't know, 8 o'clock at night, you'll have 10 to 12 hours of footage to go through.
Most of the time, yes.
Wow.
I mean, the minimum that, my husband wants, he's the one that does all of our videos. He wants at least 4 hours of video to, go through.
Wow. That's a lot more. I kind of figured, well, it makes sense though, right? You show up and you film everything to get a baseline, right? Yeah. You just film everything. Do you have multiple cameras or just one camera?
Yeah, we have multiple cameras.
Oh, so if you'd go do a 2-hour investigation, you're saying like 4 hours from separate cameras total, or is it like 4 hours per camera?
Usually between 3 to 6 each camera. Mm-hmm. And then we, of course, we got audio that everybody gives us their audio too. And if they get an EVP, we'll put that in the episode too.
Can you explain what an EVP is for the folks who may not know what that is?
It's an electronic voice phenomenon. It's we actually get them more when we're filming than when we do using a digital recorder. And that's what most people use, is a digital recorder.
Interesting.
They just set it somewhere, say the date and the time, that, they put it there. Sure. You want to kind of keep an eye on it, because that's another thing. You kind of have to wrangle people, because you don't want people in all different directions, especially if you're leaving devices out like a digital recorder. Right. That somebody could walk by and make a groaning noise, or their stomach could go off, and then somebody's going over the recording and thinking that it's a ghost, when in fact it's a stomach.
Yeah.
We've had that before, because my stomach does some pretty crazy
So I know a lot of investigators, I'm sure you do this as well, when you do hear a weird noise, like if someone stumbles or makes a knock, everyone just says knock recorded time
we try to tag
okay. You try to tag everything. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
because,
and that's,
I mean, people think that, they watch the Ghost Hunters and all these shows, which are great. That's how I started, getting my passion was Ghost Hunters when they first started off, but besides, Ghostbusters, the movie. But, it's, they wrap everything up into an hour segment.
Yeah.
And that hour segment is what I'm talking about, 8 hours of filming.
Yep.
That they're going through and picking out the best parts to entertain you.
Yes. Yeah.
Because we sit in the dark mostly for 8 hours, just trying to keep ourselves entertained.
Right. And so there's a lot of laughing and joking, and yeah, sure. I mean,
and we get crap for that. Other teams think that we're immature, but it's like, what are you supposed to do for 8 hours? Yeah, we can do so many EVP sessions, and what else are we supposed to do?
Here's the thing. I guess it comes back to if I was getting paid, I would keep quiet the whole time. But if we're doing this on a volunteer basis, we're gonna have some fun doing it. And I understand where certain investigative teams come from, where they want pure silence. I can 100% understand where they're coming from. But if you've been doing it as long as you have, you'll know that, like, you have to incorporate some type of humor. If you're doing this as a hobby in your free time, if you're just like straight, we laugh here all the time. If I was straight faced the whole time doing this, I would go mad. There's no way I would want to keep doing this, you know?
And then I always ask people too, okay, so you're at home, you get people that call you up all the time about their hauntings at their houses, right?
Right.
When do those usually happen? When you're sitting at home, watching TV, talking with a friend, just living your life.
Right.
You know? And that's when we have got some of the best evidence, is when we're just sitting there talking,
having a good time, and you hear someone interjecting or something.
That voice is not ours.
Right.
You know, I mean, there's distinct, you know, telltale signs that it's not you. But I mean, just living your life. You can't just sit in the dark and wait for them to come out to you and, you know, say, here I am, I'm a ghost. How you doing?
How you doing? Here I am, coming through a wall. Howdy, folks. So let me ask you on EVPs. I truly don't have a concrete opinion on this yet. I've heard them. I've recorded tons of them myself. I've heard tons of them before as well, you know, throughout my journey. What do you think an EVP really is?
Oh my gosh, we've talked about this so much. I mean, a lot of the times you can rule them out is, you know, it depends on the more expensive recorder you have, the less you're gonna get.
Interesting. Seriously. So a more expensive one, the less recordings you get?
All of the, you know, the little scuffles or things that you possibly think might be somebody talking, but it's just poor digital, you know, audio quality. So if you get yourself a really expensive $300-400 digital recorder, you're not going to get those as much.
So you're not going to get the extra feedback and some of the okay, I see what you're saying. So it's not necessarily you get more unknown interactions. You're filtering out less noise, less possible.
As a tech guy, you would understand. You know,
absolutely, yeah.
You get a, you know, $10 digital recorder, you're going to get $10 audio.
Well, it's just like my wonderful viewers, when I couldn't find my old boom mic again, I had to order a new one, and they had to suffer for a month off of my mic here, where it's like, sound like, you know, and now I'm on this boom mic, and I sound amazing accordingly. You know, a pop filter, I got the whole setup. So yes, I absolutely understand dealing with that, but it's just interesting, and I wonder how many false positives then different investigative teams have used. Because of, you know, kind of maybe a crappier recording device, you know, not being able to pick up the right frequencies. A lot of it comes down to frequencies.
That too. I mean, we've caught, you know, baby monitors on our, you know, walkie-talkies, you know, before. You can catch all kinds of things.
You mean like baby monitors that weren't there?
No, that like from a house down the road.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And it was kind of creepy. It was creepy. But yeah, I mean, so
how did you figure out that? I'm sorry, I'm blown away. How did you figure that out, that it was a baby monitor?
Well, you could hear the baby.
Okay, so it was pretty clear as day, like it's a baby. Okay.
Yeah, it's got to be from a baby monitor. I mean, even our audio devices, you know, when you're filming, you got, you know, the real expensive, you know, mics that come here with a little pack.
Yeah, yeah.
Then high frequency like radio signals will set those off.
Interesting. Okay, so wow, I actually didn't know that, so that's actually really interesting to me. I don't know a lot about audio. I know a little bit. I know we have a DJ in here. He is a audio master that watches frequently, but you know, that's interesting to me, at least, knowing
my husband, that's what he does for a living. He's an audio engineer.
Oh my gosh, that is like a match made in heaven. Are you serious? An audio engineer, and you're
makes the sounds that musicians use to make music with.
What? So you absolutely, so that even only, so to me that tells me that only, you know, that really gives a lot of credence to a lot of your audio recordings, because he's gonna know compared to the normal person like me who's going through an audio recorder, listening to it, he's gonna know if something is BS or not. He's gonna know, like, you know,
many arguments, trust me.
Over that. Yeah, where he's like, no, this is frequency.
Like, no, it's not, there's nothing there, and I'm like, yes there is, and you know, just argue back and forth. So yeah, it's,
well, that's kind of awesome though. That's kind of cool to have somebody on your team that, you know, actually knows audio. That's got to make a huge difference in your end results, at least. So okay, so some are some of the EVPs you believe are kind of filtered out, which I'm totally on board with, and I could see that as well, like baby monitors. So you buy higher end audio equipment to record with. What do you think they are, I guess, is what I'm trying to get at with these EVPs. Where do you think they're interdimensional? Do you think they're a ghost? I've heard a lot of different theories.
We've had some that have actually, communicated with us back and forth. I don't have them, but at Robert Lang's studio, we had one when we were downstairs in what they call the Dave Matthews room, because that's where the piano is, where he recorded one of his videos there. It was actually talking back to us, and which is kind of rare because we could actually hear it with our ears.
Whoa, you could hear it with your ears?
Another very rare thing.
You gave me goosebumps, because that is, I know that's rare, so that's why I'm just like, oh my goodness, that's wild. Okay. Yeah,
so I mean, some do, kind of converse with you, and others, I think it's just, as some people say, it's like a record, a record, repeating. I don't know if it's, we have one at Northern. I think it's on that list that I gave you. It was Halloween night, and we usually go up there on Halloween, of course. And it was raining really hard, and we heard what sounded like a woman saying, "Please, please don't hurt me, please."
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah, and it was pretty loud, and we kept trying to find, like if there's somebody there.
Sure.
But there was absolutely nobody there because it was a really huge storm that night. So it kind of makes you wonder, was that person hurt there, and they're just kind of like repeating, what happened to them? Like
stuck in a time loop, like some type of like space-time loop, where they're stuck within a certain segment and they have to repeat over and over. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Like they don't even know you're there. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. Just certain times of the year. Some people say that Halloween, the veil is thinner. If you believe in all of that kind of
sure.
They say sometimes too that water will bring it out, but I have a feeling that a lot of the times the water is just bad audio.
Oh, really? Yeah. Just
the
like
water causes, bad results for EVPs.
Sure.
So but it's really hard to say. That's why it's paranormal, because we really don't know.
You don't know. Yeah.
Everything is different. There's another one that's in that list that I gave you. We were at the Pine Box, which was the location where Bruce Lee's funeral was held at.
Oh, okay. Let's go listen to one of them real quick. Let's go listen to one of these EVPs real quick.
And you can tell it got mad. So
what is it called? Do you remember the name here?
The Pine Box. It's a roar.
Ooh, Pine Box roar. Let me see if I can search that real quick.
Yeah, let me see if I can.
Oh, here it is, roar.
Yeah.
Okay. You may not be able to hear this from your end, Raven, but I'm going to play it real quick. Looks like it's only 2 seconds long. We'll play it a couple of times here. Okay, you can definitely hear a roar.
Yeah. And
is that human? That doesn't sound like a human roar to me.
Well, the weird thing is, in this building, there's the stairwell that goes up, and it'll eventually go to the roof. And they were up there at the one, the final platform, the landing, and they were doing an EVP session there, and it was getting really boring. And my husband kind of did something that people kind of frown upon, and he said,
"Well, you got to tell us what it is."
Well, kind of like saying things to provoke them.
Oh, antagonizing. Oh man, yeah. I know a gentleman who is really good at that and produced a lot of results.
He said something along the lines of, "Did you lose your balls when you lost your body," or something like that?
Ooh,
and that's when the roar came.
That's a good insult. Oh my goodness. Okay.
And the roar came, and the funny thing is, the owner was up there at the time, and the EMF detector was like going crazy when this happened.
Yeah.
And he could hear something, and this guy didn't believe like anything we were really doing. He just thought it was kind of fun.
Sure.
That happened to him. He literally ran down the stairs, and he was done for the rest of the night.
What did he say? What he heard? Was it a roar, or what did he hear?
He heard something
like a growl almost.
The EMF detector going off. That was just it for him.
Wow.
Yeah, he literally just like, in one of the videos you could hear him going all the way down.
That's what's it cracks me up. I've had people generally it's for me at least, it's highly religious individuals who it's weird too. It seems to be more toward Christianity, Catholicism. I remember taking a gentleman who grew up Catholic and didn't believe in anything, but he wanted to learn. He wanted to go out and figure stuff out. He had his shoulder grabbed by something. Accordingly, I didn't see it. There was no recording of it. However, he said he felt a hand grab him on the shoulder and start pulling on him. He ran, started crying, and demanded to leave the scene immediately. And he never went back out. And he said he's following the light of God from here on out. So, you know, it's I've seen some guys. I'm 6'8". Some of my viewers know that I'm 6'8". I'm a very big guy. And I've seen big guys next to me as well. I've seen a 6'6" person just start bawling like a baby. And it's, you know, it's interesting to see some of the reactions on people who have never seen anything that challenges their belief system. That's the best way I've concluded from that, is their entire existence of beliefs have been challenged, and they panic and they don't know what to do at that point. And so they go back to what they
really understood that with religion, because, you know, you believe in the afterlife. So what is the afterlife?
Right. What is it? Is it to you? Exactly. And I've asked multiple people that. So you believe in the afterlife. What is the afterlife to you? Is it a dimension? Is it a parallel universe? I mean, well, it's not science. Okay. Fair enough. It's a plane of existence, right? So if you believe in one plane of existence, why is there not a possibility of another?
Yeah.
You know,
and I do have churches that, you know, we've done a couple church investigations. And
church investigations, really?
Yeah, there's one in Everett that we do on a regular basis. It's an Episcopal church.
That's actually really interesting to me, that a church, and I'm not going to ask who it was or where it was, but, you know, a church would approach a paranormal investigative team. That's really interesting to me.
Actually, you know, that's kind of a misconception about paranormal teams.
Okay.
Locations don't contact you.
No. People do, right?
You contact them.
Oh, so you guys approach the church?
Yeah, every case we've ever gotten, you have to approach.
Okay. I see what you're saying.
Not approach you.
Yeah.
Because most of the time, a lot of these locations think that they're doing you a favor. Not the other way around.
Okay. Yeah. I could see that. And there is, I know what you're talking about. There is definitely, when people bring in a team, I've noticed some people, not all people, can be very rigid and feel like that they're helping out. They're secretly wanting you there, and they're like begging you to be there, but they don't want to lead that on, is what I'm trying to say. They want to feel like they're in control of the situation and that they're helping you out in order to feel like they're in control of the situation. They don't want to not feel.
Yeah, and it's actually the location that's helping you out. They're letting you into their building, trusting you with their 100-year-old plus building, sometimes newer, you know, to be there all night with their personal belongings. I mean, sometimes they'll stay with you. Other times they might trust you and leave you alone.
Right.
But to them, you know, they're aiding you in your research.
Interesting. Yeah. No, they are totally. I'm just
locations that are very big with their ghosts, that love their ghosts, you know.
Yeah.
They're, you know, like the Stanwood Saloon. It's called the Haunted Stanwood Saloon, you know. So,
why is it called the Haunted Stanwood Saloon? I can imagine why.
You know, in Kel's Irish Pub, she loves her ghost there too. You know, every time we go there, she has us bring like a stuffed animal for the kids or a toy for the kids.
Oh, see, that's really cool.
Yeah, and we sign it and put it and leave it up there, you know, up in the very top loft. But most of the time, it's just them being nice to you and letting you do your research.
Sure.
But, and then again, with the filming aspect that we do, a lot of these businesses like it because it gets their name out.
Yes. Yeah.
Whether some businesses don't like it, though.
Well, that's a tough thing. And so and we talked a little bit before we went on here. For me, you know, working on some government and city contracts, I'm trying to be really careful how I word this. You know, it's they don't want that out there. They don't want people to know at all. Like they do not want this to be acknowledged. And then there's other places that, you know, like you said, it's kind of a part of their business. It's been known this is a haunted place. There's a place up in Bellingham, a cafe. It's like a cafe restaurant, and they've had cooks quit because of they've seen pots fly across a room and float, and they've seen all sorts of crazy things.
And I've tried to contact them, and they don't want anything to do with it.
They're okay. I'll tell you. I'll tell you off stream why. There is a reason why.
It might be one of the ones I'm thinking of, but yeah.
If it's the same one you're thinking of, I'll tell you off stream why. There's a little bit of that drama we talked about within the paranormal groups for a local one.
And that's another thing, you know.
They burned it pretty bad from what I heard. So
and that's why people, you know, in this field, they kind of people think that you're hogging locations,
right?
But in essence, you're really not. You're kind of like almost protecting them, because there are groups out there that will come in, you know, right out the gate, you know, brand new group, whatever. They've watched, you know, a ton of shows, so this is how it's going to be. You know, they're going to do it this way, and they've ruined locations to the point where other places won't let any groups in anymore because of it.
Well, and that's part of the so we'll talk about something that's not normally talked about very often, and people generally who investigate the paranormal are viewed from science and mainstream as a little bit, you know, on the fringe side of society, right? And with that, it does attract people who necessarily aren't the best to investigate this science, and they're generally kind of on the fringe. And what that produces is an experience. For example, like the place we were just talking about. I'll give you a little bit of insight here, and for the viewers, that they brought somebody on, a local team here brought somebody on they were 6 months new, and they pushed him right away into an investigation at this location, and he was stealing things. He was stealing stuff from their investigation location. And, you know, he was poor. He kind of come from the fringe side of society. He was trying to fit in, and it wasn't a good situation. So, well, I mean, of course that's going to burn that location. The owner's never going to let anyone come stay overnight again. It's just not going to happen. I wouldn't. As an owner, I would never let somebody come back in after that. So, you know, I can't blame them for doing that. At the same time, it really sucks because there's still things from what I hear happening. And this was a long time ago, you know, and so it's, what can you do?
That's the thing about the paranormal is you don't need a degree. You don't need a certificate. You don't need anything. You can just literally go on one of these name, you know, websites, go buy a bunch of flashy, blinky toys, as we like to call them, and, you know, get some business cards and, you know, maybe
for Vistaprint,
you know, and, you know, start calling up these places that other teams have been into, you know, and not really know what you're doing, which is fine because everybody has to start off somewhere.
Sure. I think it's a little dangerous though too. It's dangerous, right? I mean, would you not agree that a brand new team who don't know what they're doing going into if they go to somewhere that actually has some stuff going on, they can actually really hurt themselves. Like,
oh yeah,
you know, it depends, I guess, how you view the science and how you view it. But I've heard some horror stories of new teams going into very weird paranormal locations and they ended up actually like coming out with like injuries because they don't know what they're doing, and they're antagonizing, and they're just not. They see this stuff on ghost hunters, and they don't know what they're working with, right? And they think that they're going to,
you know, we're trespassing. There's been, you know, a few times in the news, I'm sure people have seen, you know, where buildings have been burned down.
Right. That's horrible.
You know, and we started off, you know, going to cemeteries and going up to Northern State and doing all that. You know, we worked our way up to, you know, finally getting into an actual building, which took a lot of effort. People don't realize how hard it is to actually get into a location. Yeah,
right. It's you have to put a lot of time and effort into research in order to, in contact. You have to establish trust. That's what it comes down to, is trust, right? Nobody's going to let.
I've made, you know, some really good friends, you know, from some of these building owners, you know, I mean, a couple of them call me up and say, hey, have you heard of this group? Do you think it's okay if they come and investigate? And I'd be like, you know, I've heard of them, and I don't know. And then there's other times like, oh yeah, I know them. They're totally cool. But, you know, these owners, they do have to be leery because, you know, they're seeing things that they see on the TV, and, you know, expectations are not what we really do.
Right.
It's not, you know, a ghost at every corner and an EVP every single investigation.
And so that's a great point too, is how many investigations have you been on where you have nothing? How many investigations do you sit for 6-7 hours and have nothing happen, right?
Oh, quite a few.
Quite a few, yeah. I mean, I guess it depends how you investigate, but in your style. But a lot of the times, nothing will happen. You'll spend nights and nights and nights with nothing happening. You know.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
that's
there's been
insane.
locations where, you know, the first night there, it was just completely insane, and you know, a ton of things happening. And then the next time we go in, it's just not anything.
It's
Nothing.
just not anything. Yeah, yeah. It's strange. I mean, and that, I guess that's part of the investigation, the science of it is you know, you have to constantly keep going to the same locations and establish a baseline, and also establish the ability to gain a lot of data. I was going to say a shit ton of data, but you know,
That is true. It's a lot.
yeah, you know, so it's interesting to me how many different baselines we have to establish within the science. So let's talk about some of the investigations. Let's talk about some of your more creative. Let's hear. I mean, everybody here wants to hear the spooky ghost story. Let's hear the spooky, scary ghost stories. I'm ready. I have. I'm gonna sleep horribly tonight because of it, but I'm ready.
Okay, I think the worst one. I know a lot of people probably know of Northern State up in Cedar Woolley. We've went there, I don't know how many millions of times. It's one of our favorite spots, even though it's outdoors. And yes, a lot of the evidence can be ruled out because of, you know, you got so much, you know, outside influence. You know, they've got houses around there and people. But anyway, you still get weird stuff that happens there that you can't explain. This one time we had two other groups with us. We spent the day there because, you know, usually on an outdoor investigation, we like to go there during the light to check it out before we're in the dark in the middle of nowhere.
Right. So you kind of have so you understand your surroundings, right? Yeah. So you know where to run if things go bad.
And a lot of times at Northern, we'll bring a barbecue up and we'll barbecue and, you know, have food and have fun up there, you know, during the day. And then at night we investigate.
Yeah.
So we had a few teams up there and we're all wrapping up, and it was me, my husband, and my sister-in-law, and we borrowed his stepdad's old van. It's one of those ones with the doors that you. Anyway, it was a piece of crap, but we parked right by the gate. I don't know if you're familiar with it, the gate where you could walk up to the barns.
I am. I've never investigated there, but I have driven up to it and kind of looked around and things. I'm so close that I couldn't not stop one day. Yeah, so I just was like, oh man, I have to, you know, it's like 30, 35, 40-minute drive for me. And I was like, ah, cool, you know. So I have seen it, so I know what you're talking about. Yeah. Let's pull it up real quick for people who may not know. Oh, I was saying, let me pull it up for people who may not know. What is it? What's the official?
Northern? I think it's the. Oh my gosh.
Northern.
I think it's just Northern State
Hospital, Cedar Woolley. We'll just type it in, Cedar Woolley. I want people to understand what we're talking about here. Okay, so you pull up to this gate, and
so everybody's already left. We're in the car. My husband's in the back, you know, still getting stuff ready, and you know, by the door that kind of, you know, the closing door or whatever. And so we're there, and we're right at the gate, and it was like something out of a horror movie. Everybody's in the car. We're getting ready to leave. I turn the lights on and boom, there's this guy right in front of the gate. None of us heard him walk up, which it's a gravel road. You would hear him. It was a beautiful like spring day. There was no rain. It was great out, you know, and there's even grass on the side that's, you know, you would hear somebody if they were coming up.
Yeah.
But yeah, as soon as I turned the lights on, boom, he was just right there, just standing there.
Wait, what? Like,
down. Yeah, just standing there.
That's creepy enough. I would I think I would hightail it out of there.
And so I'm like screaming, trying to get the car into reverse to get it out of there, you know, because I'm more afraid of the living than I am the dead. So I just figured he was some creeper.
Exactly, yeah.
I wanted the heck out of there. And so, you know, Joe's sister's in the back and she's screaming to get out of there and everything. And this dude's just like standing there.
Like just straight up, it was a real person, right? It was just like a real dude just standing there staring at you, huh?
But the weird thing is, okay, so
did you see his face and his eyes? Sorry. No, go ahead, please.
That's the weird thing is, so we get turned around, and my husband noticed that he kind of just went like this with his arms, like kind of shrugged his shoulders, like okay, and turned around and started walking, and he just disappeared.
Like disappeared, like, fully?
Vanished. Like,
vanished.
Yeah.
Did you see his face and his eyes?
That was the weird thing. So all three of us cannot remember to this day what his face looked like.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah, my husband can tell it way better.
No, I'm just I'm processing. I'm just like, holy crap! I'm getting goosebumps, to be honest with you. I'm just like trying to process it. You know, I'm just like,
none of us could remember the guy's face to save our life.
Wow.
All we can remember is he was wearing like kind of like a Carhartt looking jacket, you know, some kind of weird pants, and we noticed, you know, that his arms, but the way he stood with his arms just like down, like that. And my husband said when he was walking away, it was kind of like almost like he was drunk in a way.
Okay.
Kind of swerving, you know, kind of. But yeah,
But the vanishing part is the. Did you guys leave then, or did you go in?
Oh yeah, you left? No, we left. Yeah.
Oh my gosh! Well, oh man, I have
northern is you don't know half the time when you're up there if somebody's messing with you.
Oh sure.
That happened before a few times where people were up in the barns up above,
stomping around and trying to make
or making noises on purpose because they know that we're ghost hunters.
Oh, okay. I mean, fair enough. But the big blaring red button, I would say, for this incident that happened was the fact that he vanished. I mean, vanishing is.
Remember his face? It was like, to me, his face was just like a blur. I can't remember any features about his face at all.
Wow. That'd be so hard. I guess it depends who I'm with. You know, I have a guy I used to investigate with, Brian Lee, and that guy was the most fearless guy. I've never seen him back out or even consider doing anything. He would want to go investigate. I was always the guy that was like, let's get the heck out of here, man.
They call me Scooby on the team, so I'm Scooby on the team. Yeah.
Oh, let's get out of here. No, I don't blame you one bit. But see, I wouldn't be able to sleep in the car. My problem would be I'd be waking up with something like staring over me in a window and then vanishing.
Oh no! After what happened to me, sleeping in the car was way better than being inside the building.
Okay, so now we have to hear that story. You got to fill us in on that story.
Okay, so Skycomish Hotel, before they gutted it out recently and have started to renovate it, it was, putting it mildly, a mess. It was full of black mold and rot, and I mean, the stairs were falling down. It was bad. It's one of the videos I sent you. So we were downstairs in the main part, and I don't know if the Evp is on this one or not, but it was me, Luke, and my husband, and we were down there, and we're like at the bottom, and they're doing this Evp session, and we heard this woman start singing. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna go outside now because I'm kind of freaked out. And they're like, no. And Luke's trying to like talk me off the ledge. No, it's fine. You'll be fine. Everything's fine. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'll stay for a little bit longer. And in one of the parts, she says, it's okay. Like she was trying to tell me it's okay.
During the singing?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
She must have heard that I was, I was saying that I was freaked out and I didn't want to be here and I wanted to go in the car and be done with this.
Sure.
But after the singing, it was kind of quiet and we got an EVP of her saying something like, it's okay.
It's okay.
Yeah. Huh. Well, but then later that night, we were upstairs in the very top where their apartment used to be at the time.
Right.
Back in the day, supposedly it was where the women of the night's rooms were.
Yeah.
So when my husband and his friend were setting up cameras, his friend had something pull the back of his coat and pull him back, and you can see it happen on camera.
Really?
Yeah, him kind of pull back and then, like freak out. It's kind of like one of those, ghost hunters moments, supposedly, when he got pulled,
Yeah.
So they didn't tell us about it, though, because they wanted to see if something would happen to us later up there.
So I'm 50-50 on that. I don't know if I like that or don't like that. I kind of want to know if something's going on.
Leading the lambs to the slaughter, right?
Right. Honestly, though.
So I'm upstairs, and you got to remember this place. It's leaking and it's raining. It's just there's mold everywhere. It's just disgusting.
Sure.
So we're upstairs, and I've got my coat on, and I think what kept hitting me was like raindrops. I thought it was raindrops, going on the side of my head.
Yeah.
And I'm like, God damn it, I'm getting rained on. And they're like, well, this part, my husband's friend's like, well, there's no rain up in this part. This part's the dry area. And I'm like, well, something's dripping on me. And my husband's like, well, put on your freaking hood. So I'm like, okay, I'll put on my hood, right? And as soon as I did that, something went like something touched like all the way down my face.
Oh, your face. Oh man.
Yeah.
Oh
And I
wow.
was like, okay, something just touched me like all the way down my face. I am going to the car right now.
Yeah. Wow.
It was in the same room that, this
Ugh.
fire got pulled in.
Oh wow. So something well, so in so that's the benefit of not saying anything. Then you had two incidents, separate incidences of very close encounters.
Yeah.
That are recorded, right? That's that's it. So some of these videos, let's take a look at some of these videos. What do we have here? We have some of these videos here on the YouTube, right? Is it the YouTube channel we're going to? Yeah. Okay. We'll go check out some of these videos that you're talking about here. Let's check one out. Oh, go ahead. Oh, this one is?
Yeah.
Do you have any timestamps of something we should look at, or should we just do a quick overview of it?
I like that.
That one, I think we investigated that location like 2 or 3 times. I think this has both times in it.
Whoa, there's something there.
Yeah, see, this is the intro, so it has a little bit of everything from places that we've been to.
Yeah.
So like that's northern right there.
Oh, I'm not on my account. Give you a thumbs up.
And that's right up there at Skycomish. Yeah, see, we kind of goof around.
Oh yeah. Oh, was he goofing?
Yeah.
I was like, did he just get possessed? What's going on here?
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, and then you go through. So this is something that's really cool. That so when I was kind of checking out some of your work that your team does, these videos are actually really well done. Like I'm really impressed. A lot of the times, oh, great job. And I can't believe how in depth they are. You have you're showing a lot, and that's just, to me, it's really cool. See if we can find something spooky here, something scary. I don't know.
We have other videos, but they're
so this is oh, it's on a different account.
It won't be up till next weekend. So.
Okay, that's fine. Hey, when you get that, let me know. Send me a message, and when we upload this video on YouTube, we'll add a link to it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's all about cross-referencing these wonderful links.
But now the Skycomish Hotel, somebody they have an investor now, which is awesome because they were going to tear it down. The city took it away from the owners.
Oh wow.
Because they let it get to that point.
Sure.
And now they have an investor that has gutted it, and it is becoming just beautiful again.
Okay. Well, that's good to hear, because there's a lot of old buildings that are awesome for investigations that are being torn down. Do you think it's attached to the land, or do you think it's attached to the building?
Well, like with the Skycomish, I think it's the building because it was in a different spot back in the day.
So oh, I'm sorry, I keep interrupting you. I'm just so excited.
The town of Skycomish, they had a problem with the railroad. They had some ground contamination from the oil.
Okay.
Because it was I guess it was a cross stop or something for all the trains to go, and so sometimes the oil would get dumped there.
Yeah.
So the EPA had to go in, lift all the buildings and the whole town up, lift them up, scrape the ground, put new dirt, and put the buildings back.
Wow. Okay. So
yeah. So some of the buildings, like the Skycomish, is in a different spot. They put it more on Main Street than where it used to be back further in town.
So that kind of leads to a question then on oh man, this is kind of an in-depth question. I know it's not an easy question. In terms of what you think that these things are, or things plural are, what do you think? Gosh, I'm trying to figure out how to word this. I guess I'll just ask, what do you think that they are? What are these things, and how are they attached? Are they attached to things by energy, or are they attached? I mean, I know I know this is not an easy answer because it's a very in-depth question.
I guess it all depends on the location. Like with the Skycomish, it's definitely not the land. Mm-hmm. It's the building itself. But like we did the Demon House in Bothell. I don't know if you've ever heard about that, Ghost Adventures.
No, I haven't. I have never heard of the Demon House in Bothell.
He did he has a couple books out now, Keith Linder. It's pretty good. It's pretty interesting. But his definitely was the land and not the house, because the house is brand new.
Okay.
But the land apparently is kind of what brought the issues upon the house. See?
So is this like a newer house, like a nicer house?
Yeah. In Bothell.
So if it's newer, okay. I'm just trying to say if it's newer, then
thinking it has to do with, of course, that all that. I guess you could say it happens a lot. That Indian burial type ground situation going on there.
Okay.
Keith had probably 20 different paranormal groups come in there.
Wow, 20 different ones.
Yeah.
Wow, that is a lot. I was gonna say that's definitely a like that is incredible.
Came from the UK, stay there for like a month straight and investigate. So he was very thorough about trying to figure out what was going on in this house. I mean, because pretty much it almost burned down a couple times from what was going on there.
Really? It almost, yeah. But why would it want to burn down? So whatever this thing is, so do you think, let me ask you, do you believe in demons and ghosts, or do you think that they're mixed, or are they separate? I've heard so many different theories. What is your theory on it?
Well, there's heaven and hell, and, to be a ghost, I guess you're kind of like in the middle.
Okay.
Is the theory. So, I mean, if a ghost is going to go to heaven or, whatever, and it doesn't, and it's stuck in the middle, well, there's got to be hell too. I mean, if there's a heaven, there's got to be a hell.
Right.
They're not as one show has them like every other episode, demon issues. It doesn't happen like that.
Right.
I spent 2 hours and drugged my poor team to a Catholic church to listen on how they deal with demonic possessions. And it's nothing like you see on the TV shows.
Not even close, no. And it's
about a year process.
Interesting. So that's okay, Tiff. So the process that you worked with took about a year. Dealing with a Catholic church?
It can take about a year, yeah. It can take a long time because, I mean, believe it or not, the Catholic Church does make you see an outside counselor, psychiatrist. They have their own, and the actual exorcist is not known. They actually keep him very secret.
That's interesting. That's very interesting. Because I actually have worked with this as well. There's people out there that say that they're demonologists. Right.
Yeah, but if you're talking about a real exorcism, you want to get the Catholic Church involved. It's not as easy as 1, 2, 3. Okay,
so without breaking any NDAs here, I'm going to be very generic in what I'm about to say here. We had a government contractor who was a single father with 2 kids, who had I just saw a text come in. I was like, oh gosh, am I gonna get sued already? Like, gosh. Government contractor with two young children. And this was one of the cases that actually really did scare the shit out of me. It really did. And it was actually through a couple other people that they eventually got to me, because somebody mentioned that I kind of specialized in this a little bit and understood it very well from past experiences. These kids will wake up in the middle of the night screaming, saying that there's something holding them down, growling at them, coming through the wall, and terrorizing them, right? And they were, oh my gosh, I'm trying to remember how old they were. I think the son was 7 or 8 and the daughter was like 4 or 5. And the dad didn't know what to do, and so he went to his supervisor, was asking around, and that's how he eventually got contacted through people. I showed up, and the first night that I showed up, and I was there by myself to see if it was legit or not, something moved a 320-pound dresser in front of their door while these kids were screaming. It took me and their dad literally to break down the door, of kicking it, to get in there and move the dresser. We didn't see or hear anything ourselves. That's when I was like, okay, these kids there's no way they moved a 320-pound dresser in front of their door. So I'm actually getting goosebumps talking about it. My hair is standing straight up talking about this one too, because this one was crazy. I went to the Catholic Church and I brought in a couple of people that I know who kind of specialize in this, and they tried to contact Catholic Church. We had a priest come in. The priest left scared after he heard something growling at him down a hallway. He said he's not going to deal with this. He's not going to get the church involved at all. So we had to kind of outsource, and we ended up with a white witch, which I didn't know anything about witchcraft or anything about that. And we had a white witch come in, and I don't know what she did. She refused. She wouldn't let us be there when she was there. But after we left, she was there for about 4 hours by herself in there. After she left, they never had a problem again. So I don't know what she did. She refused to tell us, and to this day, I still don't know. And I didn't even know there was a difference between white witch and black witches. I had no understanding of that. I was younger, and I was still learning, and that blew me away, because after that, they said I contacted them every month, and then it was a couple months, and then pretty soon I just left them alone. But they didn't have a problem. So there's weird things that I am still not understanding, and there's stuff that I don't understand, how something like somebody could walk in there for 4 hours after being tormented for a very long period of time. And who knows what it was? Like, I seriously don't know what it was to this day. Was it a demon? Possibly, I guess. Was it a ghost? Maybe it was a bad spirit. Maybe it was a bad ghost. See, I haven't come to the conclusion on what everything is yet. I don't know, and I don't claim to know. But I do know there's something strange. There's definitely something that's not nice. There's not nice things out there, whatever they are. I've even toyed with the idea of being interdimensional beings, or maybe there's a I don't know, parallel universe that crosses over. I've heard weird loud bangs, like gunshots, the sound of gunshots, and weird haunted areas too. So I don't know if there's parallel. I don't know what it is. That's why I was wondering what your thoughts were on it, and what you thought it could be, right? Especially with this industry, if you start making outlandish claims, or not industry, but the science, you start making outlandish claims, and you get looked at like a weirdo,
And that's the problem too, The media, a lot of the times, just puts us in this bad light, because, we've got people out there that think every other thing is a demon that's possessing them. And,
sure,
in reality, that's ratings, and ratings pays the bills for these channels. And you have to realize that. The mainstream shows out there, if you're just going to sit in the dark for 6 hours and get one EVP and try to think you're going to get any type of rating out of that show to have, advertisers,
right,
you're sadly mistaken. So,
absolutely. Yeah.
They have to put a little fluff in it, kind of just.
They do. And, for years, I didn't understand that advertising side of things. For years, I was a huge advocate against these shows. I was a huge advocate against, I thought it was really hurting the science. And it is to a degree. But at the same time, they're creating a way to continue what they're doing on a professional level. They're able to take.
Ghost hunters, they kind of broke out the field for a lot of us.
Sure.
A lot of people, before ghost hunters didn't know. You call up a place, they're like, what?
Yeah.
What do you want to do? I don't get what you're saying. So it kind of, brought it to the forefront, in a good light, but at the same time, people have to take it with a grain of salt, because it is entertainment.
Right. And you're right. I mean, you have to have some, and I'm sure your videos and mine as well. I mean, there's certain kind of guideline you have to follow. People like the spook factor, I guess, and that helps you. And once again, how else are you going to investigate and come up with these videos with actual stuff to show people if you don't have that stream revenue? And
there's been times where we've went into places and filmed for a good 8 hours and absolutely nothing. And Joe's like, I'm not doing anything with this video.
just nothing.
Nobody's gonna want to see us just like cracking up in the dark.
Mm-hmm.
We already make some people in the field already agitated. So why keep doing it?
Right.
And, I mean, if we don't have something to show the viewer, they're not gonna watch it.
Sure. No, and you nailed it. That's pretty much it. We're at the top of the hour. Let's take a quick ad break. Give you and I a quick little 2-3 minute break, and then we'll jump back into it. I think we should dive into some of your investigations. I think that would be the next step, and we'll kind of start talking about some of your investigations, some of your more spookier stories, and even we can go through some of the EVPs we have here and just kind of listen to them and see what your thoughts are, and we'll go forward. So we'll catch you all here in a second. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll see you here momentarily.
Okay.
Thank you. And we're back with the wonderful Raven from White Noise Paranormal. Thank you so much.
My team, there's Jesse. There is Anthony, Alex, and Keith.
Awesome.
And we have Noah and Becky too.
Wow, you have a whole bunch of people here. That's fantastic. Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I see a lot of folks in here. I've been catching chat off and on here. Alex here, right on. That's fantastic. A lot of our, I'm hearing right now that there's a holiday somewhere else, and so a lot of our viewers aren't here right now. I don't know what's going on with that. So yeah, what's that?
Something about Mother's Day.
Yeah, there's a little Mother's Day going on, so a lot of our viewers, I think, are out with their mothers, so they'll have to catch the rerun on YouTube, which I'm definitely get the link to you. And we're going to most definitely be posting White Noise Paranormal information on that YouTube video later on, so go ahead and check the description down below, and you'll absolutely see some delightful links for Raven's group here. They have a lot of cool information. After I watched some of the videos, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of watched through some of your videos, Raven. I thought they were awesome. You know, you have an awesome team dynamic. It looks like there's a lot of humor. There's a lot of camaraderie, which is you know, it's kind of rare nowadays. So it's really it's a nice change of pace, I would say, on how people investigate. And it absolutely looks like you are using science, you know, to come up with your conclusions. You're not just going off of feelings. You're not just going off of what could be. You know, it seems as though you're using a lot of different science-based techniques, and I can appreciate that very much so.
Yeah, Jay's really great at that. You know, that you introduced him to me. He invents so many cool things, and I love it when he brings it on investigations, because they're just crazy, and I'm just like, how did you even think of this? But he's got so many great ideas, you know. It's awesome, and he's a really great guy. I mean, we've known him for just about as long as White Noise has been around.
Oh wow, so quite a bit of time. Okay.
Yeah, because he actually interviewed for White Noise, him and our friend Todd, who's now passed away.
Yeah.
But we had somebody on the team that didn't think that they would be a good fit. And so we didn't have them join, but later on through the years, we became really good friends with Todd, and Keith is now on our team that used to be on Jay's team. After Todd died, they kind of disbanded most of the members.
Well, my condolences. That's always tough, you know, losing investigators in this community. It's very tough to, I don't know, it's just a tough thing all around. I mean, losing somebody in general, but, you know, it's hard. Yeah.
And we bring Jay, you know, I am also the treasurer of the Marysville Historical Society and Museum.
Whoa. I've actually been through a couple of places in Marysville. I had a partner live there for a long time, so I spent some time in Marysville. They have some cool things out in Marysville.
Yeah, it's a newer building, but it's full of, you know, antiques. So we've gotten a lot of crazy things happening there. I will not work there by myself.
Oh, seriously?
I will not.
It sounds like you're just as bad as I am. I'm such a scaredy cat. Like, you know what? It's like, oh, spook, a ghost. I'm out of here, man.
Yeah, I'm totally Scooby-Doo. That's what they call me on the team.
Well, I'll call me Shaggy then. If we ever go out, if we ever go out on an investigation, call me Shaggy.
Okay, got it. So yeah, I mean, if I go to the museum, I have to bring somebody with me. But we've investigated it quite a few times, and we've gotten some really cool. Jay's mom's gotten some very interesting photos and a couple really good EVPs. Anthony's got there also. It's a really wonderful place. I love it. It's my second home.
That is incredible. It looks like you have some, speaking of Jerome, White Noise Paranormal, we have some EVPs here that you sent us a link to. Is there any ones that off the top of your head that you think would be awesome? Some of these are old too. Some of these are 7 years ago.
Because we go up to Wellington quite a lot. I don't know if you're familiar with that area. It's like at the top of Stevens Pass, and then you'll go down. It's where the train accident happened in 1912. 96 people were killed.
Oh, you know, I don't want to say I do, because I really don't. I'm trying to think. I know the area, and I'm trying to think back if I heard anything about it.
Trail, they also call it. But yeah, the snow shed, not only just just like ghosts, but there is we also, one of our friends from another team, she caught a Sasquatch howl.
What?
And it's my gosh. A very famous audio recording that's like all over the internet.
Oh, okay, we got to hear that. Where's that at?
I don't know. I don't think that's on there. Yeah, I think it's on one of the videos that's not up right now. I can tell you which one though later.
Okay.
But it's it is an incredible piece of audio that she got.
So the only time I've been Sasquatch hunting, and I'm 50-50, to be quite frank with you. I have a biased opinion. So that's what's hard, is doing a lot of these interviews. I have a biased opinion, and I really try to stay away from that bias. But you know, I've been out in the field a few times. So one of the things that has always intrigued me is Sasquatch, because scientifically speaking, it is 100% possible for something to evolve into a Sasquatch type creature, right? And then, you know, just go extinct, right? And so it's very hard for me. What I'm getting at is I've been on a few investigations. I haven't ever seen anything, but I've had weird things happen. I've had little pebbles thrown at us from very far away. I've seen something big on night vision. I have some pretty high-end night vision, and I have seen something at a distance that would stand about 7.5 to 8 feet tall. I can't verify what it was because it was too far away. The reason we know how tall it was is we walked up there afterward and took a tape measure out and measured it against branches, because I could see what the huge branches coming off, and so we measured it from there. I to this day I still don't know, and I've heard oh, here's a great one out. Have you heard of the Lummi Reservation up here? The Lummi Reservation. Okay, so we had a paramedic, and this was years ago, a female paramedic that refused to work in Lummi ever again after she was driving back from a scene or a call, and she saw a Sasquatch figure walk across the road in front of her. They were the only ones on the road in the ambulance. Walk across the road, stop, turn, look at her. She stopped, started screaming, had a panic attack. The thing left. And right in front of her, and that's the reason we actually got called out. We got called out by the we're not under an NDA for this, but we got called out by the emergency response team out in Lummi Island. And so we got called out because this lady actually checked herself into a psych ward. She was freaked out from what it crushed her belief system, is what it was. She was she was a very determined Christian, and she believed in what she believed in, and that was it, you know. And so when she saw this, and that's why I said earlier, challenge her belief system. Her belief system was 100% challenged, and it caused her to not understand what reality was anymore. And so she checked herself in after that. She couldn't do it anymore. So you know, so how do you like, she was going for not unemployment, but what is that, some type of like a disability traumatic experience, and that's why we got contacted. Is they're like, how do we pay this out? She saw a Sasquatch, like, we can't write that in the paperwork. Can you go investigate? And that's where it all started. And from there we kept going, and we had permission. We had local police come out, and there were times where the police would come out and say, hey, there's some bad dudes driving around right now, and you're two white guys, you need to get out of here right now. And so, you know, it would happen, and you know, it's part of what you have to do. And but they were really awesome with us because they knew what we were doing. We were actually trying to help. So it's just it was an interesting overall experience because we had things out there happen. I've heard those howls and hoots, and in fact I think we played one of them. Okay, we played one of them on 2 episodes ago. Let me pull that up real quick if you're okay with that. Oops, I moved your camera here a little bit too much.
Because Anthony on our team, he is a Sasquatch expert. We have another show called Locked into Darkness.
Oh, okay.
With Bert Coates, and they did an episode on Sasquatch.
Really?
Yeah, they spent the night up in the middle of the woods, you know, close to Stevens Pass. It was pretty intense.
Okay, I don't know what this one is, but we're gonna play it real quick.
I don't know. That's up in there. Cop car still just chilling.
Oh, I didn't hear anything in that one. That was a pretty bad one. I'm sorry. There's so many of these though.
Yeah, if I can find that one from our friend Medea, it's incredible. It's on the video from Locked into Darkness. I'll find that one and send it to you. But it's
oh, that's
it's
a whole
hot around the Sasquatch community.
Is it? Let me show you something real quick since I have it pulled up. Oh, that's the one that I thought it was. What is this? Okay. That's not it either. I have a bunch of stuff here and I haven't shown any of this to the stream, so they're getting like, I haven't shown any of this. I'm trying to figure it out. Oh, is this it? This is it. This is it. And there's a better one of this one too. Check this out. I don't know if you can see it very well, but check this out in the car. Well, you can't really see it there. This is really bad. I don't have anything prepared. This is terrible. Screw it. Well, I'll show it to you later. I was trying to find the one. There was because I had the files pulled up. I thought there was some Sasquatch hoots and howls in there. And I'll have to find it later to show the stream.
People have to realize, that the paranormal just isn't, ghosts. It's, Sasquatch, and,
right?
Skinwalkers and psychics and all that kind of thing. So we haven't delved into it that much, even though we have paranormal in the name.
Yeah.
That's what Locked into Darkness was kind of doing. But we're mostly just, the afterlife ghosts.
So that's funny. That it seems though you're right, because the paranormal world is very vast, and there's a lot of different subset groups that do different things, right? Like I originally started, before I got into anything ghost related or demon related, I was actually doing UFO encounters. And encounters of the third and fourth kind. Like I would actually help people who would have encounters and not know how to deal with it. Surprisingly enough, there are a lot of people faking. There are a lot, and there's some telltale. Once you've done it long enough, you can see the red flags. You'll see the red flags on the first interview. Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly, right. I mean,
our team, we don't do residential locations.
Oh, you don't at all. You just got
the only time we've ever done it was Glenn Bowie. He's the guitarist for the group Steppenwolf. We did his, Born to Be Wild.
Yes. Okay, yeah, that's cool.
And then we did.
Well, you had to do that house. I mean, you can't say no to that.
But other than that, we don't, because one of our friends, he was kind of our mentor, in this our whole journey. He used to do them with his team, and he had a very few bad experiences where police had to been called CPS.
Yeah. See,
so it's just he had a gun one time held to him.
Oh man.
I didn't want him to leave. And this was just a friend of a friend.
Yeah.
So I mean, people, I hate to say it, but a lot of the time, the residential stuff, it's people that are lonely. They want attention.
Right.
Not all of it, but you have to. It's a very long process to try to weed these people out.
It is too, and
you're going into a complete stranger's house.
Yeah, that's why I always met in public coffee locations first to really get to know folks. The UFO for me, I had to deal with people who claim to be abducted, right? So, and I never told anybody whether I didn't. If I thought they were full of shit, I would never say that. I would listen to them, because I wouldn't solve anything by saying that I know they're BSing, right? So I just listened to them, but I just I would slowly phase out our contact. I realized that for about every 10 cases you worked on, maybe one was real, that you could that had some credential backing to it, I guess you would say, or evidence backing towards it. And I worked with William Puckett from UFO Hunters. He was a guest on there a couple of times. He's a PhD meteorologist. I think there's a couple articles and that was one thing, is I hated doing interviews back then. I couldn't stand it. At the time I didn't do a lot of interviews and do a lot of public speaking, and it scared me, and so I just didn't do a lot. But we had one from Western Washington University. They wrote an article about UFOs and UFO encounters, because there were so many sightings here. And I was the local expert. I had no credentials back then. I didn't have a degree in anything. I didn't know what I was doing. Well, I kind of did, but it's interesting to see the investigative side from UFOs and aliens and people who hunt, not necessarily hunt, but investigate, I should say. I don't like the word hunt on that.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird.
It's a weird thing, right? You investigate, because I think there is some science behind it. Investigate the paranormal, the ghosts, demons, Sasquatch, and I've met quite a few people who specialize in Sasquatch hunting, and I've heard and seen some weird stuff. So a lot of people too. That's another thing. There's a weird thing in this science where people like to hoard information almost, and I'm a huge believer in sharing information. I don't hoard anything. I have things I've never shown, and the reason I haven't shown it is I haven't had a platform I felt that was science based that I could share it with yet. And because I'm a huge and firm believer of sharing information. I don't think I'll share everything I have. I have nothing to hide, right? I think it's really bad, and it's bad for what you do specifically to have people not share that information, you know. It can be hard, but at the same time, you know, you have to have, I do understand the monetization part of it, where you do have to have some, you know, custom content in order to create some type of revenue stream, right?
But at the same time, you know, if we don't share it, you know, like you said, it is kind of, it's a bad thing, because, you know, it just doesn't make us go forward at all.
Right.
And in this day and age, nobody's going to steal your stuff.
Right.
I mean, there's too much protection out there that people are going to know whose it is.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and I know that's not the reason why people are doing it. People are doing it just because it's a power trip.
You think so? Is it ese? There's a lot of ego.
There's a lot of ego.
Yeah. Is it ego? It has to be ego. I mean, what else could it be? And these are the things that aren't talked about, though. You know, it's kind of a hidden thing, and people just figure it out. But like, why not talk about it? Why not open up that door? Because what if we can investigate better?
People attack you.
Right.
And I've been at the wrong end of the stick on that one. You know, just for, you know, kind of speaking my mind about, you know, the community in a whole.
Sure.
Sometimes, and I know other teams have had the same things happen to them. They just don't publicize it, you know. Or
right.
But you know, if I even say something on White Noise about an Ouija board, oh my God, you know, you got people out there that, you know, I had a picture of my grandson. He was playing with my dog in the Ouija board. People threatened to turn me into CPS.
Right.
It's like, it's a freaking Ouija board that is mass produced. You know, I mean, if people just get so passionate about certain things,
it's once again, it's the fear of the unknown. People are afraid of things they don't understand, I think, is what it is. I personally have never worked with a Ouija board, and it wasn't because of any religious beliefs or anything like that. My reason is I've seen things happen to people who work with a Ouija board, and whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, I don't understand it enough to the point where I'm willing to risk, I guess, my sanity, because I understand when something attaches to you, it can become very tiresome, and I'm not willing to risk my sanity over it. And not saying that always happens, or it's bad, or evil, or good. I'm not saying any of that. I'm very neutral about it. I don't know. I don't know if it's good or bad. I don't know if it's a positive thing or not positive thing. I really don't. And who am I to tell?
You can make a Ouija board out of anything.
No, really. That's what I'm saying. I mean, I could write it on a piece of paper. I could grab a piece of paper and write out a Ouija board, and then play something down on there. Right. I that's where I'm at with it too.
Collect vintage and antique, and I can tell you, I had probably like 30 or 40 of them, because after my dad died, I kind of went through like this phase.
Yeah.
And I had like 30 or 40 of them, maybe more. Nothing ever happened.
No.
I mean, but it could be just me. I don't know, but.
I'll tell you what, firsthand experience. I've seen somebody burn a Ouija board over desert white sage, and I've actually watched. We heard weird noises. Surprisingly enough,
that could be the wood or the paper.
Well, it was around us, not in the fire. We were hearing running footsteps around us, and we were like, and it was like, it was weird. It was very strange, very strange. So I you know,
and that's why there's some subjects that you don't like talk about online, because.
Right.
You know, you tell your opinion and somebody's like, oh, no. It's like anything with the internet right now. You know, you say your opinion and you're going to get attacked either way.
Sure.
You know, people are either going to be on your side or they're going to be against you.
Right.
But with the paranormal community, you know, again, it's not a science and anybody can get into this field. So everyone seems to think they're like an armchair, you know, expert.
Yeah. And that's the thing, and I'm sure you're in the same boat. I was just gonna say, I don't ever claim to be an expert. I have no idea what I'm doing. That's why I joke about it, is because like I tried different things and I'll experiment. I've had weird things happen for sure. Is there a scientific explanation? There totally could be. Maybe everything that happened to me, there's 100% scientific explanation where a weird thing in the universe just came together on a science that we don't understand. And, you know, maybe there was some type of the way atoms bounce off of each other and created this vibrational frequency. Who knows, right? I really don't. So that's why I say that I'm very open-minded to everything, because who am I to say if something is right or wrong, you know?
And that's why it's the paranormal, because we don't know anything.
We don't know. Yeah.
For sure. But, you know, there's certain subjects that you learn to stay clear of.
Sure. There are, totally. And just like you said, there's things on the internet that everybody's going to fight. It doesn't matter what I say. No, listen, I've had people critique me positively. What's that?
Orbs is another one that you don't
Orbs is another one. Yes.
Oh, God,
yes. We talked about that last week as well. You know, it's a difficult subject, but the thing is like, I try to use science, I really do, but we don't know everything about science either. So science could be wrong, and it is wrong a lot of the times, you know?
Well, 90% of orbs, if you film like we do and, you know, are into photography as much as we are, you know that it's dust or it's, you know, moisture or whatnot. And yeah, there might be maybe a 10% one that you don't know, but most of the time with orbs, it is just plain, you know, environmental factors.
Right. Yeah, exactly. There is a lot of environmental factors to it. And UFO, EVP, same thing, right? Yeah. You know, with UFOs, there's a lot of orbs related with UFOs too. That's why there's a lot of I guess connection between the different subsections of the paranormal investigating world. And there are things like orbs do crop up, and I wouldn't say in contact cases, but UFO cases for sure, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of a interesting take. Let's check. You know what? We said we're going to check these out. We never did. Let's check out some of these. I'm sorry. Let's go down. Tell me when to stop if you see something interesting that we should do.
Let me look, because it's kind of smaller on my
screen. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Oh, no, that's okay.
Unknown laughing.
I'm on my laptop, so
let's check out Unknown laughing. This will be a good one. We'll play this one. This is 2 seconds. We'll play it a couple of times.
I mean, once we go over the audio, we'll build.
That one's kind of hard to hear. I don't know. Can you hear it from your end as well, or no?
I can't hear anything.
You can't? Okay. So that one was a little bit harder to hear, but here's a sorry one. These are always good ones. The ones that apologize are always good.
I mean, once we go over the audio, we'll be able to tell.
Whoa, so that one was clear as day. Let's play that a couple of times.
I mean, once we go over the audio, we'll be able to tell. I mean, once we go over the audio,
it's like, sorry. It's weird. Yeah. It's like a female voice that you can hear like a female voice, right?
The one that's really sad is the "We're Asleep."
We're asleep?
Yeah, it's right above. I think.
Oh, here it is.
Down. That was taken at the Pine Box, which used to be the chapel and where Bruce Lee's funeral was. But Butterworth, it used to be a funeral home, and so a lot of the times they would display the bodies.
Okay.
You know, they'd stand them up and they'd just be on display. And I guess there was a photo of a little girl that was on display, you know, as a funeral.
Okay.
And so it's kind of sad. I mean, you know, because she sounds like a little girl when you listen to this.
Yeah. Is it so? Was the picture of a little girl who lived there, or somebody who just went through as someone who passed? A funeral home. So it could have been somebody who went through as passed. Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. Let's listen to it a couple of times here. She sounds British. She sounds British. Does she sound British? Or from the UK, maybe? We're asleep. That's crazy, though. Yeah. And so let's set up a science baseline. So this investigation, you showed up to this location, and you were just how did this lead up?
That EVP, believe it or not, we were just kind of like setting stuff up, and somebody had the recorder going, and we caught that.
Did you? Okay, so since she said, I'm curious if it was intelligent or not. She said we're asleep. Did you get any other recordings the rest of the night from there?
Oh yeah, we got some other recordings. That's the same place where that roar was.
Oh, okay. Why would she say we're asleep if they're going to continue?
It's almost like it was a question, like we're asleep.
We're asleep. We're asleep.
You know, instead
Yeah.
of being dead, we're asleep.
Oh, I see. Where are we? Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, that's interesting. Unknown laughing. These are always my favorite ones. The laughings are always hard because you really have to crank them up, though. That one was a hard one to hear. A voice of a little girl speaks at random. Is this the same place?
I don't know. He didn't label these very well.
Oh, that's okay. I mean, they're 7 years ago.
Yeah.
We heard her say a couple different things.
Yeah, we haven't
and then we
updated this because most of them are like on our videos, but
decided to come down
So this is a weird one.
here.
and the Hey Fellas, that's one of my favorite ones too. That was taken at McCabe's in Everett.
Which one?
It's called Hey Fellas.
Here we go. Perfect. You can. It's really hard to hear, but you can hear it about like a half second in, and you can hear it.
And see, it used to be a brothel back in the day, of course.
Hey, fellas. Oh
Yeah.
man. So. Gosh darn. So that really is it? It's stuck in a recording. See, that's what's weird. Is I've had intelligent conversations, like legitimate intelligent conversations on a recording before. Not me, somebody else's recording device, but it was once again one of those very high-end $350 recording devices.
Yeah.
It had this external speaker microphone like this speaker or this microphone, and it clear as day was responding. We couldn't hear it. I was standing there, and I was standing in the room, and so I knew the entire conversation. There were no other people there, women, I should say. There, it was just it was 3 guys. It was myself and 2 other guys standing in a bedroom, asking, and it was another gentleman was asking questions, and he was getting like exact responses in the recording. And so, I've always struggled with this: is it intelligent or not? Because I've heard like this. I mean. Hey fellas, if it was a brothel, you would think that it's a recorded state, like, you know, it's you're always saying hey fellas, you know, over and over and over again, right?
But this place also, I think a lot of the whatever was there, they were more intelligent. They seemed to want to communicate with people. They were self-aware, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Because it went through a couple owners, and so of course, you know, they did some renovations to it. And on one of the renovations, the new owner said there was no electricity through the building, nothing whatsoever, because they had to shut the breakers off, do everything. And through the speakers that weren't plugged in, they could hear somebody say, "Oh no, here we go again."
Oh no, here we go again. Really?
Yeah. And so it's just weird because that same building, my husband and another investigator heard music, like old time music playing in the bathroom, and there was like no music, nothing plugged in, nothing going on.
Oh gosh.
The place was pretty active, but ghost hunters had investigated there, but the original owner didn't want what they found aired because they were afraid what they found would make people not want to go there.
Seriously? Are you allowed to talk about it, or is it like a agreement?
We wouldn't get into it. She
Really?
just said whatever they found, she did not want them to air it, and pretty much good luck with us and see what we get.
That's what's really strange is the places that I've worked on that are under NDA contracts. There's people are always at where's the smoking gun? Where's the compelling evidence? It seems as though the really absolute definitive answers that I've ever seen, like firsthand, that I'm like, okay, this is starting to make sense a little bit. It will never be aired in the public.
Mhm.
The only things that I seem to have ever seen that are aired or even released that were able to be released are pretty crap, you know, compared to what I've actually seen. And that's why it's hard, because people like that story you just said, people see these weird things that really shake them up, and they don't want it to affect their business. As a business owner, I understand, like I really sincerely do. You don't want that negative stigma that is attached with it to your business.
Because some people love it, some people will flock to it,
Right.
where other people will be like, I'm not going in there.
Right.
You know?
Right. Exactly.
So-
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of owners think is, you know, they're going to get the people that are like, I'm not going in there if weird things are happening, or somebody gets pushed, or or whatever. I'm not going to subject myself to that. So a lot of owners, they'll just outright tell you, no, you can't investigate. Or if you do find something, they ask you not to present it.
Sure. That's always really difficult as a researcher, especially if you get a smoking gun situation like that. Asking to not share that, it almost is a disservice to the entire science of it, and it sucks. And
I mean, I wish she would have told us, what exactly was on there, but she was kind of in the mindset of you figure it out for yourself. Let's see if it happens to you. Which, I mean, there's some investigators like Alex that's on my team. She likes to go into a place not knowing anything about the hauntings or anything like that, because she doesn't want to be influenced. When there's been a lot of studies, of mass hysteria, so if you get, something, planted in your head that's going on there, you could manifest into your imagination of you hearing that or seeing that, what you've been told has been happening. So a lot of people like to not go in at all knowing what's going on.
So just to give you some insight, when government hire researchers, and I don't know if you've worked on anything like this, but when a college gets involved or scientists get involved with an investigation, generally they have one person, they call them the project manager, know everything that's going on. However, they don't let anybody at you, so they let you know what's going on. They don't let anybody else know. Unless they're put in a situation that could be dangerous. That's the only time that they're informed on what's happening. And the reason they do that is for exactly what you said. There's too many studies showing a mass hysteria and forced bias. That's like when people hear something that they don't like or they don't believe in, and then they go and research it, but when they're Googling it, they use terms that are going to force them down their own bias, right? They're going to say, like, for example, like, I don't know, we'll just say red cars, for example. I don't believe red cars are real. So I'm going to type in red cars are not real, right? Question mark. Like, I mean, they're going to force their own bias based on their own knowledge, right? And so a lot of the times I've noticed that's kind of how, like, when there's money involved, at least that's how they at least do the investigations. Have you had that happen to you as well, or is that kind of...
I mean, with Alex, I won't tell her unless she wants me to.
Sure.
But usually the team is so excited just to know what's going on that I, tell them what's going on. But there's been times where, like, me and Joe, like just recently at the museum, something happened, and my friend and other team member Keith was coming over, to hang out with us and investigate. And Joe's like, "Don't tell him what happened. Let's see if it happens for him." So. It's kind of good in a way not to tell people, because then if it does happen, like with the Skycomish Hotel, it happens to somebody else, it does validate that, it's happened to more than just one person.
Sure. Which makes sense, But
I usually disclose, just for the fact that most people, some investigators like to know what they're walking into.
Yeah. I've noticed if it's something where there's like, I don't want to say violent, but like something like where there's a lot of pushing, a location where there's something that could hurt you, I think that would probably be... See, this is stuff that I think needs to be kind of created. I think we need to pull investigators from all over the world and create some type of guideline. And I know it's been tried before, but create some guidelines to it. The problem is they always try to monetize it, right? It'd be nice to have some like guidelines where you can be like, okay, when you go on investigation, follow these steps to get a clear baseline read. That would be awesome. I think that'd be super beneficial. But I think when we have good investigators like yourself and your team getting out there and recording this and putting together high quality videos to share, I think that that's so positive for the community. It's so positive. Whether you believe in this or not, whether you believe in ghosts or whatever it may be, it's going to, you're helping the community by kind of setting the example, lead by example. And that's always a good thing to do, lead by example. You can tell people all you want, but if you show them how it's done, I
had like a twofold thing when I first started getting into this. I like the paranormal, and I wanted to show people what we did, and all the exciting things that we can find, on investigations. Not always gonna happen, but but at the same time, I wanted to show them the history of these buildings.
Yeah.
Because a lot of owners, they are very prideful in their business's history, and that in that building, it is like a part of them. And if you go in saying, "Oh, I I didn't know it was built in 1878. I didn't know, Kennedy stayed here, this kind of stuff. They almost sometimes get kind of a little, I don't know how you'd say it,
snooty, offended. Okay.
Yeah, that you don't know the history. And a lot of case managers, that's the problem. These, newer teams come in and they're just like, oh, we're gonna, go investigate this place, because this group did and this group did and that group did. And, so they call up the owners, hey, can we investigate? And the owners will be like, and I've been quizzed before.
Really? Do you actually know what you're doing? Really? That's interesting.
So they'll throw it in there, sly like. And if you don't know, man, I've had it before where they get quite rude.
Yeah.
So you want to know the history of a location going into a place too, not just the haunting, but the history, because a lot of the time that history goes with that haunting.
It does. And I think that's actually, it's hard. I'm trying to think of a reason not to quiz somebody about I mean, you should know the history. If you're going to go in somewhere, you should understand what you're getting into. And I, to be frank, I think that's kind of good. I think that's good that these people are taking stand. They're not going to let, these brand new people who watch ghost hunters come in, not do any research, and then cause problems, or create
the first building we ever did was McCabe's, other than, doing the cemetery stuff and northern and outdoor stuff that was free, or not just free, but, didn't need permission, even though technically you're trespassing. That's another subject, but, so I spent like days at the Everett Library with, this librarian, David Dilgard, who eventually became the reason why I wanted a degree in history. But, just finding out everything about this building. And I found out, McCabe's, the street it was on, Everett was so embarrassed by the street because it was just like a prostitution row. Yeah. That they literally erased it from the maps, a lot of the old maps. Whoa. And back in the day, it was fenced off. All the buildings were fenced off from the rest of the town. Sure. And I mean, because I can't remember what president, I want to say it was Roosevelt or something, that came through, and there's a famous photo of McCabe's as he was driving down the other part of it, and you could see the McCabe's women like hanging out the window and everything. So the city themselves just basically changed their map just to not have it on there. So yeah, and the historian was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe that you figured that out." Because I was like questioning, I'm like, well, they're here on this map, but they're not on this map. And he's like, "You're the first person that's ever noticed that." And then he told me the history about it. Yeah, that's actually really interesting to me. And I'm actually very much into history as well. I'm very much into ancient civilizations. Hopefully we can have podcasts about somebody who knows a lot about ancient civilizations. Now because I think there's a lot to it. I'm a firm believer of Bob Lazar's story that UFOs were uncovered in archaeology digs. Am I saying that correctly? I don't know. Archaeology? Yeah. Right? I think so, right? Archaeological digs of different weird crafts, of ancient crafts from ancient people. I'm a huge I have huge interest in like Atlantis and different things like that. And what you just mentioned actually kind of goes along with I've interviewed off camera, off the books, a lot of people within decent positions within our military, and there's a few things that I've noticed that kind of align. The first thing is that the U.S. military and the Pentagon government and different operations within the government that have kind of branched off from the U.S. For example, Boeing Black Widow Group, Lockheed Skunk Works, and different skunk works across that I probably shouldn't name. That these people can change history literally by changing maps, right? And they pay people off, and CNN, Fox, different news organizations, or they have paid actors, and this I verified this through multiple different sources that have verified credentials within the military. So they can change whatever they want. And this includes supposedly, now I don't know if this is true or not, I don't know if you've researched this, but I've also verified that there are Marine Corps and Air Force bases on a island of a country that doesn't exist on any map in the Western civilization between Australia and East Asia. And so Yeah, totally.
And so, but what I'm getting at is if a simple state or a simple city can just change a map whenever they want to fit their agenda to not show something, imagine what somebody with money and power could do. So, that only
tiny city of Everett is embarrassed by their prostitution. You know, it was amazing. It was like a 5 or 6 year gap. You know, that the street just wasn't there. And
how does that even happen? That's crazy to me. Like that's insane. You know, I mean that's it doesn't surprise me, but one bit. But it's just wild.
And the owner didn't even, and see, that's what I'm trying to get at. You know, the owners really do love if you bring in something new like that. I mean, we presented her. This was like back in the day when we really did the research, but we presented like this folder to her with like all these maps that David helped me with and all this other stuff, and she was just so impressed.
Yeah, I
loved it, finding out all that extra history that she did not know about her building.
But see, what you did is establish trust. You did the best thing you could possibly do, which was show you showed with your actions, not your words, that you care. You put in the research. You and your team put in the research. You found the information, and that opened up doors. You know, and that's a way to go about it, in my opinion. Is actions, not words. So you know, kudos to you and your team for that. Awesome.
Yeah, awesome, I love that building, but now it was taken over by a construction company, and they did a lot of renovations, and it's actually not on the historic register anymore because of it.
Oh wow, that's incredible. Okay. So your most, you said your most scary experience. Let's hear your most active experience. Let's hear a story of your most active experiences of investigating.
The scariest one, I would have to say, pretty much all revolve around Northern State.
Really? So Northern State. So you're not the first person who's told me this. So Northern State.
Yeah, I mean, it's like every time, and I mean, Alex is she's been on my team the longest, and she can attest that every time you go to Northern, something weird happens. I mean, it never fails.
Never fails.
I mean, even if it's just like, you know, somebody messing with you, but there always is some kind of adventure there. But I think one of the scarier ones that we have was me, Alex, Joe, and Luke. They had opened up the campus because the campus is actually closed. Mm-hmm. The main buildings that house the mental patients is closed. Okay. You can only go to the farm area because it was a working farm.
And that's what I think I pulled up a little bit ago on stream. Was that it? That was the farm, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the farm you can go to. The campus is now open for walking, but you can't go into any of the buildings because there's asbestos problems and all kinds of things. The buildings are very not up to par, as you know. Oh yeah, sure enough. Not only that, they have a Job Corps there and a drug and alcohol treatment center.
Yes.
So, it's very touchy. I mean, if they catch you on the grounds after dusk or before it was even open to the public, they wouldn't mess around. They'd just arrest you.
Wow.
Yeah. So you can go to the barns. You're not really supposed to like enter the buildings, but I've talked to the park ranger a few times, and he's okay as long as, you know, people are respecting it, because through the years that there's been fires, people have these people go in and take, you know, a lot of the windows, you know, repurposed windows and everything. So a lot of things have been stolen and damaged. But I think the scariest time we were up there, we were just investigating what we called like the milking facility. And it was this one part, and we're all outside. And I don't know if you remember the earthquake back in, I think it was 98, where it sounded like a rumble.
I did. I was actually in Seattle as I was a kid. I was a kid on a zoo trip. Actually, I was in school on a zoo trip, and I happened to be standing over a propane. Was it propane or gas pipeline? And so it shook like 3 times harder. And funny story, every animal in that park went ballistic about 30 seconds before the earthquake. I literally saw every animal try to bury their head. That was the weirdest thing ever. So anyone who's ever told me that animals can't feel earthquakes, I don't believe one bit, because I saw it firsthand with my own 2 eyes.
Another thing I kind of investigate is infrasound.
Yeah.
That's another thing with the paranormal. Infrasound can actually make you hallucinate, audible and visual.
Really? See, this I've never heard of, and now I'm really curious and interested.
Yeah. So it's one thing I'm interested in, because you know, when you go to bars, there's a lot of machinery, right? Mm-hmm. Which causes infrasound, which can make people hallucinate. Not only, like I said, audio, you know, audible, but visual too. So you have to consider that, not just with EMF. People are always about the EMF and the high EMF readings or whatever.
Yeah.
But you also have to realize that infrasound is a big thing, because back in the day, even sailors would be known from the waves from the sea.
Yeah.
Would cause them to hallucinate, and they would think something was after them and jump off the ship.
Really? Seriously? I've never heard of this.
And infrasound is how animals tell when earthquakes are coming.
What? This is insane. This is all new to me. I'm blown away right now. Okay, this is cool.
You should really delve into it. It's very interesting. And that's how elephants also communicate with each other, is through infrasound.
Oh, well, I knew elephants can communicate. I knew dolphins and whales can communicate that way. I didn't realize that, and it's different. It's obviously like dolphins and whales are through sonar, but I didn't realize that there were IMF audio frequencies that we're sending out. I mean, it makes sense. Like, it totally makes sense. I've never really dove into it. I've taken like German Shepherds and Rhodesian Ridgeback purebreds out on investigations, who were very well trained, that can pick up on things so we knew where things were happening. And German Shepherds and Rhodesian Ridgeback purebreds are both great dogs to have investigations, because especially if you have them well trained, because they'll point to where they see and hear things.
That could have a lot to do with the infrasound, because it sounds that we cannot hear with our ears. Even though it's there, we can't hear it, but it's doing things to us at the same time.
So how are these created, do you think? Like, an earthquake obviously is ground shaking.
Waves will do it. Fans can create infrasound. Anything, kind of like pushes the barrier of the sound.
Yeah. Well, now I'm thinking how many sailors thought they've seen mermaids or different sea creatures, and they were just hallucinating from infrasounds.
And that's why, how many bars are haunted?
Yeah. Wow. Okay, you're kind of blowing my mind here. Now there's some dots are being connected in my brain right now. How many bars are haunted from music? How many?
Well, I mean, a lot of bars have restaurants. Eating areas, or they got to have all the equipment to keep the the kegs cool and everything. I mean, just from a filming aspect, it's very noisy.
Especially like a brewery. The breweries.
So there's a lot of infrasound in there, and I do have what musicians use. It's actually detects like decibels. So like when my husband's recording and stuff, he doesn't go over a certain amount, and that will actually, I can bring it into a location and kind of like tell where all the high areas are.
Wow. So electricity, I assume, is one of them, right? So you can tell like where a breaker box is, for example.
Yeah, and that'd be more of an EMF.
So I used to hear from old school investigators, like guys from the 70s and 80s, and I don't know how much credence I'll put in this, but I used to hear about these old school investigators where they would always have things happen near large concentrated electricity. For example, like a giant breaker or electric fence. I used to hear the same story from this guy who investigated a haunted farm, quote unquote, and which everything would happen near this electric fence. So
and
it's
EMF can do the same thing as infrasound can. That's why investigators, that's one of the main tools that they use, is an EMF detector. We'll take it that along with a FLIR. We'll take it along the wall.
Well, you got a FLIR? That's actually, I'm actually impressed with that. That's very expensive.
You know what though? I have a FLIR that hooks up to my iPhone and iPad. It was $2.99 at the Apple Store.
Oh wow. Okay, that's still pretty cool. Like, it's made by who?
It's made by FLIR too.
Oh really? So it's a legit thing. Wow, that's crazy. Okay. I mean, those cameras are I mean, the iPhone 11. I think Neil Patrick, one of the viewers here, has an iPhone 11, and he has the 3 cameras in. It's amazing. It's like 4K. Yeah. It's like, oh man.
Yeah. So when I take the video on, when I hook my little FLIR up to it, it's incredible. It's awesome. But yeah, so those are the main tools that people want to have. I mean, we always tell people, you can go on these websites and get all this. My friend always called them the flashy blinky toys, but the main ones that you really need are just like an EMF detector, a digital recorder, a camera, and a video camera. Just the basics is really all you need. You don't need all this fancy, expensive stuff.
Yeah,
you really don't.
Well, that's good to hear. I've heard from both sides. I've heard people say that having the higher end gear solidifies your science experiment, that you're pretty much doing at that point in time. And I've heard the opposite, just like what you said as well. So I think
but you
that
gotta realize that most of that gear that's sold on those websites, they're not science based.
oh no. Oh, I mean like infrared
Oh,
and for different thermal. Sorry, I'm thinking of infrared no, if you're buying a $4,000 ghost box where it just cycles through audio stations that talks back to you, yes, I agree with you wholeheartedly. Like, that is just silliness.
Yeah, there's certain things, that are good to have, but mostly the basics. A lot of the old school stuff still works wonders.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of different experiments too. That's something that's not really talked about, is how many different investigative teams and, obviously like ghost hunters or different type of production teams. There's a lot of different equipment that's constantly being created. And there's all this different equipment, and who knows if it works or not. But some say they produce results.
Does, and that's the fun part about it. You got somebody like Jay that's a good engineer, and comes up with these good ideas. Even if what he creates doesn't produce any results, at least you tried, and you have it recorded that you did it, that you tried.
Yeah. So, but that's something I need to try too. Maybe we should do one of these streams live on site somewhere. Like, I've always thought about that, but would that change the outcome? That's always my question.
We used to hook up our DVR and go live.
Really?
And let people watch what we're doing. We did it at the Pine Box and a couple other places. Yeah. And it was kind of fun because somebody would sit there and, talk with the people watching, and somebody will be like, oh, I saw something over there, or I heard something over there, so it was kind of fun. People really love to be a part of it, because not everybody can be a part of the team.
Sure.
And so to be able to kind of interact, even if I do Facebook Live, people love it.
That's really cool. We'll definitely have to catch one of those next time you guys go live on that. That sounds like a lot of fun, actually. Well, sweet. I don't know. I just love this. I'm just excited. I don't know what else to say here. You caught me off guard for a moment. So you got a bunch of cool stories. Any other ones that kind of stand out to you?
Well, like that one at Northern, was saying, it sounded like that earthquake. And you've heard about those, what is it? The sounds of the apocalypse.
Oh, all right. So I've heard it's two different ones. There's the ones with the trumpets that people, not trumpets, but they hear the trumpet rumbling sounds. And then there's another one, which I've heard up here. I don't know if you heard that about a year ago. That's weird.
What we thought we heard.
Yeah. Do you know what I'm talking about, right? So there was one up here in Whatcom County that everyone heard it. It sounded like a bomb almost going off, and I felt like my desk at the time I was actually streaming, and so you can hear it on the stream. My desk shook, and you could hear the boom, and everybody heard it. Nobody could figure out what it was.
Yeah.
Anywhere. The police were and nobody. It was crazy, right?
Yeah, and that's what we thought we heard. It was just, so freaky. It just sounded like it did right before that earthquake. That rumbling that was coming, and and we thought at first, it was up in the ceiling. Like something was really going on up in the ceiling, and it just it kept getting louder and louder, like it was more up, like up in the sky. And that's another weird thing is not only are there like paranormal, like ghost activity up there. Yeah. Jay's mom just recently caught a photograph that looked like a UFO. And the weird thing is my husband and his friend, when we were up there one time, thought they saw one.
A UFO, okay.
So that area, for some reason, lately has been a UFO hotspot also.
Wow, okay. That's mind-blowing to me. Now I really want to go check it out now, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
I love checking out different UFOs. Gosh, there's just I've been on a whole rant on here before about my theory on UFOs and what it is. We talked about one of my very close encounters I've had. I'm pretty convinced. I saw a black triangle UFO. I'm up close. I'm highly convinced, though, after seeing it, that it's advanced U.S. military technology, or some not even U.S. military. I would say some type of black operations. We know there's black operations going on based on the Freedom of Information Act and some of the documentation that's come out. They've openly admitted it at this point in time.
Mm-hmm.
So that's What's your take on that? What's your take on the federal, like, for example, when the federal government went in and gave grants and sent scientists in on Skinwalker Ranch, for example, when Bigelow owned it? You know, what is your thought?
I think that's awesome. You know, really, that, you know, people like that can bring it out into the public, you know, the public knowledge, you know, that they got grants to do this, you know. And, you know, just recently, I think it was, what was it, Tom DeLonge that finally got the government to admit to those Navy tapes.
Which is crazy that he got that to happen, especially since he just got like crapped on after the Joe Rogan podcast. He got annihilated, and I'm surprised.
He's been into UFOs for years. You know, it almost ruined his marriage, or I think it did ruin his marriage. But it took somebody famous to actually, you know, make them kind of cough up, you know, the truth a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, I
it's
mean, I guess it takes money and fame or something to get people to listen to you.
So one of the people that I've interviewed, I was talking about earlier, was actually a pilot, and I've heard some crazy stories, and they have covered it up a lot from what I'm hearing, like more than what they lead on. Like it's a normal occurrence kind of a situation. So a lot of the times they don't know if it's advanced, you know, like a breakaway society. There's so many rumors, and it's hard for me to really determine what it could be, because there's so many different rumors out there. You know, I have the knowledge that I have, where I can formulate good ideas, but once again, I'm not an expert, and I don't think anybody is in this field, unless you have a master's or a bachelor's in aerospace technology. But even then, most of those folks are saying we have no idea what that is. So and I mean, we had the Disclosure Project. We already had that happen in the early 2000s, right? They came together, people all over the world came together and said, hey, this is happening. Nothing happened. It was shut down. So, you know, when the federal government's giving grant money away to investigate the paranormal, especially like at Skinwalker Ranch, and that's the easy one because that's one that everybody knows. There's a lot more.
But I just don't think they've ever given any, other than UFOs, I don't think they've ever really given any type of, you know, grants to anything but UFO.
No, I know for a fact they have given even colleges in Washington State a small amount of grant money to investigate the unknown, the obscure and unknown. And I know this because I've seen it firsthand. It wasn't a lot, but they have gotten grants. Professors have gotten grants to conduct their research projects on top of their normal teaching. And
like the Ghostbusters did.
Yeah, but it's the thing. Yeah, the thing is though, is they don't talk about it. Nobody is openly discussed because they don't want their career ruined. Is a lot of it. So a lot of these guys with PhDs, a lot of these people don't want to lose their credibility within the field that makes them money. So they keep quiet in order to continue researching things outside of it. It's just it's too far and few between, and the ones who are found out about, they're very wary because they don't want anybody to throw them under the bus per se, and have them lose their career, you know.
I mean, some people, when I tell them what I do, are really intrigued by it. Some people that you would never even think it is cool, you know.
Sure.
And then there's other people that just look at you like you're 2 cents short of, you know.
Sure.
Insanity, you know. And it's just like, you know, so it is kind of still a touchy subject when you tell people that you know, you go, you know, paranormal investigating, you research, you know, ghosts or whatever, and then, you know, they're either for it or they're just, you know,
yeah. And I mean, that's where I'm at now, is I don't investigate anymore. I spent years too, and as well, not as many as you, I don't think, but I have spent quite a few years checking out weird and abnormal things, and I'm now at the point where I want to interview the people, because I think that if I can get enough collective knowledge of people like yourself and other people within that are researching these types of occurrences, that I hopefully will be able to put a puzzle piece together of all the different things, right? And getting your take. Like, I learned something completely new that I had no idea existed, which was what was it again? Audio. Yeah, exactly. See, it's so I think that alone is going to hopefully help change, and that's where I'm at now. And also, you know, I do have a professional career too, and by investigating, it does jeopardize my professional career. So I kind of have to make some sacrifices and you know, do what I can do in order to hopefully better something that I think is widely unaccepted, based on stigmas, and I think we need to get rid of that stigma, and I think we need to legitimize some of this. Yeah, some of it could be complete BS. It could be people, mass hysteria, completely freaking out. It totally could. To be fair, the CIA used to inject Johns who were looking for a good time, a lady of the nights, with LSD, and that's been proven as well. So we could be experiencing mass hysteria. I highly doubt it because it's so location based. Possible, I guess, but I just there's overwhelming amount of evidence, right?
But the more you do this, the less you actually find, because it is like any career or business or whatever you want to call it. Some people say, "Oh God, don't call it a hobby." Well, okay, it's your passion.
It's your passion.
So with any passion, over the years, you learn to fine tune it.
Yeah.
So something that I would have thought was an EVP 10 years ago, I would be like, what the heck was I thinking? That was so not an EVP. So it does take experience. I don't care what people say, the people that are coming, just starting, they should, like with us, we had somebody that kind of mentored us and helped us along the way. And I mean, the greatest gift that he gave me to help my team become one of the most active, because we've probably investigated 30, 40, 50 places, several times on each place, and some places that have never been investigated before, because this person told me that he said, don't follow somebody else's path, make your own path.
Okay.
So don't go to all of these places that are hot spots. Make your own hotspot. Do your research, on a town, find an old building, look into the history of it, talk to the owners, I've called up like the church that we go to all the time now. I called them up and asked, if we could possibly investigate there. And they're like, well, how do you know that we had things happen?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't, but I did some research and, so you kind of, you do need a mentor in this field too, to help you along the way.
Sure.
But do make your own path. Don't follow all these hot spots, because we've been to a lot of these hot spots and most of the time nothing ever happens.
And that's just the facts. But the issue is people don't realize that, and they don't see that. They only see a 10-second clip you post on YouTube and they say, oh, that's it. That's a lot abnormal than the last 10 hours we've sat here for,
Exactly.
So
but those little hole in the walls that you would never think anything's going on have a lot of activity sometimes, are better than any of the mainstream ones that you see all these other groups doing.
But see, that's incredible that you thought of that, and that kind of brings up another point too. Of what if we're what if you and other people are investigating? But what if the investigations are happening on a level that we haven't developed the technology for yet? We just recently have recording devices in the last 100 years. What if we have a technology or science that we don't know about that is the smoking gun evidence of, I don't know, maybe interdimensional beings that are causing this, for example, just one random theory.
It's great to have somebody on your team that doesn't, like Jay, as an example, that doesn't buy stuff on the websites out there,
right?
That make their own stuff, their own theories of why they think that this certain tool will help them get some kind of evidence.
Sure.
You have to think outside the box. You can't just, try to mimic what you see on TV. That's not going to get you anywhere.
Right. That's a really valid point that you bring up. We were talking about creating guidelines, and while you can have guidelines to have a safe investigation, that doesn't mean you shouldn't experiment outside the box. I think that the only way you're going to advance, or even find, maybe he finds that your teammate finds a way to create some type of device that you can hear them better, or hear whatever they are better, and now but he wouldn't have gotten there without experimenting and trying different things, right? I'm curious on something like, I don't know, this is a little extreme, but something like an EMP, setting off an EMP and then going into the area and checking it out, because then all electronic devices at that point are shot. Something like a northern state, for example, that doesn't have any electricity or anything going on there. Experimenting and just seeing if there's a difference. Is the energy different? Who knows?
Well, there are, I did buy what's called an EM pump or whatever, where it's supposed to, give off this static electricity that's supposedly, that the ghosts are attracted to.
Yeah.
I mean, things like that, I think it was Jay or something. He actually brought a Tesla coil.
Oh my gosh. Oh
which
man.
I had been wanting to do for a long time. My stepdad was going to help me with it.
Yeah.
Because it's got so much energy, and
Yeah.
so just little things like that. You have to like think differently than that website out there. You have to think outside the box, else we're never going to get anywhere.
Sure. A quick side note: have you ever been to the Electrical Museum in Bellingham?
No, I want to.
Oh man, I've been there. I've been there for a part of some of the conferences I attend. They do after parties there, and so we get to see little shows. I've seen the same little show a few times. I've been in the cage, the giant Faraday cage, where they actually send the biggest Tesla coil in North America, and they shoot your cage with it, where it's like a huge lightning bolt. I've been inside there, and it is scary. You feel it's weird. You feel that is a great example of feeling energy. We talked about that and the science backing of it. But when I was inside that giant ball, when they struck it with like enough electricity to kill you, you had to sign a waiver for it. Yeah, I was scared. But once it was going, you feel it though. You feel the electricity and your body. I mean, our bodies are made of how much water? How much percent? A high percentage of water, 82%, whatever it is. And you feel it. You feel electricity. So, I guess I made a pretty brash statement earlier on in this podcast where using feelings isn't good on investigations. Well, it's not that it's not good. It's just very hard to back it with scientific data. It's you absolutely can have those feelings, and maybe there is something to it, right? Maybe I just overlooked it too quickly. But because I felt the electricity there, so why couldn't you feel it out in the field, right?
Yeah. And that's why, he was coming up with all these different things, that generate electricity, which is a good thing, because that's one of these theories that people have, that ghosts are, they come out when there's like more electricity and stuff, storms, rain, stuff
storms.
Like that. So,
what have you heard on storms?
Yeah, because of, maybe the lightning and electricity in the air and everything.
Yeah.
So people think that sparks up paranormal activity too. So I mean, just little experiments like that, you just have we try to encourage that in the team too, but sometimes it's really hard, to try to come up with something.
Yeah.
I mean, it is really hard.
It is hard. I mean, if you think about it, I guess if you're an engineer, you have that logistical mindset, but it can be very difficult, trying to figure out different things. But bringing a Tesla coil, that is ingenious, by the way. Shout out to who was that again?
Jay. Yeah.
Jay. Oh, shout out to Jay here for bringing a Tesla coil.
I wanted to do that so bad.
Oh my goodness. So I don't know if you read, and I can't find this on the internet at all anymore. I actually found this on the dark web, Tor network, and maybe Jay will find this interesting. Maybe he knows something about it. And if he does, send me some information, please. Please give him my info, because I found a journal that he was writing back in the day, and it's in his own handwriting that was passed on to his mentor, not mentor, what do you call those? Assistant, lab assistant, I guess it would be. A lab assistant. It was passed down 2-generation lab assistants, and it was his original journal that wasn't taken when he burned down his facility in New York, and everything got stolen by Uncle Sam in black suits and sunglasses. But that's a story for another day. He talked about being able to use not necessarily a Tesla coil, but use electricity to put water in between two pieces of glass, like a mirror. I think it was a mirror. Two pieces of a mirror, or maybe a see-through glass. I can't remember. Where he would fill it with water. So there was a water base in between them, and then he would seal the outside, and he would set the connect parts of, I don't know if it was Tesla coil or whatever it was, to this glass, and he would set a vibrational frequency that would move the water to be able to see through to other dimensions. Right, and so that's where my theory came up with dimensional beings interacting with, and I don't know if this is true, I'm just talking on my butt at this point, from just the knowledge, the understanding of it, that these dimensional portals or whatever, depending on the frequency, you can enter different dimensions of our existence, almost like what was that, The Mist from Stephen King, where they open it up, very similar to that, right? You can see different creatures that are on Earth, quote unquote, or the Earth in another dimension, and I'm wondering if there's some type of lap over or some type of interaction, because we talked about those bangs, right? What do you think those bangs are? Let me ask you that.
Oh God, it was so scary. after that happened, I watched a lot of videos to try to like wrap my head around what happened. You know, because my husband's kind of into the UFO stuff too.
Yeah.
Has been since he was little, because he lived up in Alaska, and they quite a bit up there.
Oh my gosh, I got to get him on the show then. We need to talk about, because I have some family land in Port Protection, so I've been up there quite a bit too, and I've seen some funky things up there as well.
Yeah. So he's really into the the UFOs, ancient aliens, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I kind of like did a lot of YouTubing and listening to these videos, and I mean it even happened in Ballard around that same time you were talking about. In Seattle, it happened in a few places.
Really?
So a lot of scientists believe that it's maybe the earth shifting and making noises. But I don't know how it can just be in one tiny little location. Like up at
well, that's
Northern,
what I was going to say. So that bang, I've heard on a micro scale. I remember hearing it at a micro scale inside my family home when I was younger. I think I was maybe 16, and I was living with my grandmother, and we all heard a giant bang at like 11 o'clock at night. It sounded like it was louder than a gunshot, but nothing was changed, nothing moved, nothing was broken. Couldn't figure it out.
Well, what's that one thing that happened up in Canada? The something boom. That really famous one that happened up there in was it the 80s?
Oh yes, I know. I actually do know what you're talking about on this one. Yes. Let's see if we can pull it up. See if we can pull it up real quick. It was
sometimes I believe that it's maybe alien ships or something entering the sphere, or they're doing something to our atmosphere or something. I don't know.
I'm not gonna be able to find it from a Google search. I mean, half my career is Google searching, but
I know.
No, I'm not gonna be able to find it. If someone in chat knows it, send it over to me. No, I know what you're talking about, and it's so I've always wondered if I have two theories on it. Or three total fleshed out theories. One being interdimensional, where something opens and when it closes, it causes a pop. It causes a big bang, right? My second one is it could possibly be intelligent, not from Earth, controlled ships, either by AI, human, or even interdimensional beings, I would say, slicing through the fabric of time, causing the boom. Because no matter what, you would think, based on the science that we know, there would be some type of chain and cause reaction if something like that were to happen. And the third one is I think that it might be coming from possibly the spirit world, spiritual world, however you view it, however you think of it, and it's something to do with that, and it's crossing over possibly. So obviously
one thing about paranormal is that is paranormal. What we're talking about right now.
Right.
And a lot of teens just don't realize that. They think it's only ghost hunting, but it's this kind of stuff that we're talking about now too.
But the thing is, a lot of newer people in this field don't understand that there's a lot of other things like that going on. There's things that are just, it doesn't make sense, like the bang. Like I still cannot figure that out. And a lot of old school investigators will know about that, but a lot of new ones don't. They haven't had that happen yet. So it's interesting,
because it brings up a question, a really weird thing that's happened to me in two different locations. So when we're at the Stanwood Hotel, I think it was like maybe the second time we investigated there, all of us were sitting around the table, and we had the DVR going, recording and whatnot, and we're just sitting there talking, and what sounded like a freight train was coming towards us.
Freight train?
It was like this rumbling sound, just like something coming right at us.
Wow. Okay.
And we all just like got up. You could see it in the video. We got up and we just were like shook. And then when we went to the McCabe's, me and my future sister-in-law, we were upstairs in one of the music rooms, and we were just sitting there in the dark. The guys were off doing their thing, and we heard it, and it sounded like it was coming towards us. And just the anticipation of not knowing what was coming towards us, or if it was going to stop, or what was going to happen, but it did. It sounded like a freight train. So I mean, those kind of sounds, I mean, maybe it is paranormal, I don't know, but I've had that happen in two places now. the sound of what sounded like, you know, like a train, just like this rumbling coming at you.
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you're talking about. I've heard it myself firsthand, so I know what you're talking about. I don't. There's so many possibilities. I've had a lot of open roundtable discussions about this. It's so hard to pin down what that could be, you know.
And it wasn't just me that, you know, and it wasn't just one location. It's happened at 2 locations with 2 different sets of people.
Sure. So
You know,
how does that happen twice? That's the thing is, if it's happened to me, it's happened to you twice. I'm sure it's happened to a ton of other people. What is going on at that point?
Yeah.
What?
And that's what's sad about when people, like you were saying earlier, hold on to information and don't talk like we're talking now.
Right.
Because who knows how many other like teams out there have had that happen, but just kept it to themselves because they thought it was really cool.
Well, watch this. Let's ask. Let's go to paranormal rumbling train sound. Ghost train. What is a rumbling noise outside? There's nothing here. Nobody talks about it. This is the kind of stuff that nobody talks about. And this is exactly what I'm trying to get at, is get to the nitty gritty. I mean, anybody can go watch Ghost Hunters, but nobody can come here and listen to like what is really going on and why is it happening. I mean, I can't even give a conclusion. I haven't even theorized what that could be yet. Have you had any thought into it at all?
I don't know if it's maybe, I mean, the second time it happened, it felt like something was running at us. I don't know if it's, you know, whatever's running at us hitting our plane with their plane, like you were saying.
Yeah.
And making some kind of weird noise in the process of doing it.
Yeah.
It's just really unknown. But I mean, it finally like stopped, like right at us. And we were just shooken up the rest of the night. I mean,
to tell you too, so the only EVP recording we had from that whole train rumbling experience was an old phone going off. That's what's really weird too. We heard an old phone, you know, like those 1920s, 1930 phones. See if I have it on here. I might have it on here. So a lot of my stuff I don't keep. we had a huge thing happen with this. I don't like to keep any of my files on my computer. I notice when I keep weird files on my computer like that, I just have weird things happen. So I keep them all on flash drives and hard drives, and I keep them in Faraday cages. Yeah, so a self-made. I just buy the old army, those old school army containers. Those are great for Faraday cages. You can get them like $15-20 and on cheaper than dirt. So I just grabbed those. Let me see if I have it on here. I do. Oh, okay. This would be fun. You're not gonna be able to hear it till later. There it was. You're not gonna be able to hear it till you listen later, but this is what it was. That's like a 19. For the record, nobody had cell phones. All phone. The breaker. This house was unoccupied, and because of weird things that were going on, nobody was living there. So we actually went and turned the breaker off in the entire house. There was no electronic devices. And you know what? Here's the other thing we had. Now that I'm looking at the report here, you can listen.
Yeah, I didn't hear it either, but it's the train noise.
Actually, in this recording, the people I was with are talking about the train noise of this exact incident. So you have to listen to this again when we'll play it again. But we can hear a dog whimpering. So there are 2 EVPs, the only 2 EVPs the entire night. We're talking about the train noise, and then we hear a dog whimpering. There was no dog whimpering. The noise we're hearing, clap, 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 I think is somebody. I can't remember what it was, but we figured out it was just somebody doing something. We didn't have a dog. There was no power. There were no cell phones. There was nothing. We're playing it again.
That's awesome.
I didn't hear it either, but it's the train noise.
It's crazy. Like that's hilarious. And we're actually talking about it in that recording. The train. Did you hear that? He's like, I didn't
have this open dialogue, you know, with other investigators because, you know, you just had something happen that happened to us.
Yeah, right.
It's not really talked about.
No, it's not. It's not talked about. And even I think the recording you could hear right now, somebody didn't hear it or feel it. That's what didn't make sense either. So we had somebody else outside. So generally we have somebody kind of watching outside as well. I mean, we like to have science-based evidence, right? So at the time we did. I'm not on any team or any investigative journey right now at all. But you know, then we always had somebody outside watching, because we noticed that we would get things in windows, surprisingly enough, when people were inside, right? So we'd always have somebody outside. He was outside, he didn't hear a thing. And in that recording, you can hear everyone else talking about, like, the guy came in and he was like, I'm pretty sure you could hear in the recording that he said, I didn't hear anything. And it's like, what? And that's when we got the dog whimpering. And we're like, what? How did we get a dog whimpering and an old school phone ringing? And we looked it up. It was like I think it was like maybe it was older. Maybe it was post World War II. I don't remember. It was one of the older phones. Maybe it was like 1940 or 1950. I don't have the information right in front of me. I'm just talking to my butt. But you know, it was one of the older phones that they used, and we couldn't figure that out. And this house has been around for a while too. But how? So there were no voices, but how are we hearing all these sounds? We heard a train. We felt and heard a train coming, like a steam train coming toward us.
Yeah, I know, it's scary, you know, because we didn't get any EVPs, nothing.
Right.
But we feel it, like it was coming right at us, you know.
That's insanity.
I mean, a whole room full of people. The first time it happened, there was probably like 6 of us.
That's really crazy. So there's something to that then. And so what are the odds though that you didn't get any EVPs either? I mean, the only ones we got were like non-voice, like a dog whimpering and a phone ringing. Yeah. So what are the coincidence? I'm not a fan of coincidences in this research field. So there's got to be something to that.
But that's good validation of something that happened to me because of something that happened to you too.
Right.
So, I mean, not like complete validation, but you know,
at least it's a starting point, right? So it's a jump off point. Now, if you and I branch off and we hear anything else, and we'll know, you know, later on. So that'll be interesting and crazy. What time is it? How long have we been going here for? It's already 9:30. Let's wrap this one up. This is a great podcast in my opinion. Do you want to list off some of the resources that are available to people or things coming up? Do you have any your YouTube channel, any way that people contact you?
Well, we have our Facebook page, White Noise Paranormal. I do like live, Facebook Live when we are able to investigate, but because of what's going on in our times right now, we've kind of had to put off about 3 or 4 investigations. So normally though, we do try to do a little bit of a live stream, but it's kind of hard to when it's dark. So I usually just kind of give a tour of the place, and if it's light enough, I'll let people watch an EVP session or whatever. So check out Facebook, and then the White Noise episodes will be up on Firole. It's Firole, like viral, but roll and fire. Anyway, it's my husband's idea. So that will be up probably Saturday, and I'll give you the link to that. That has all the episodes of White Noise. Locked into Darkness also is another one of our shows. It's kind of a paranormal show. Let's see. We do have the SoundCloud. It's a lot of our old stuff. He doesn't really update that much because most of our stuff lately has been when we've been videotaping. We've been getting really awesome EVPs, and we put those in our videos. But we never try to say, we give people an idea of what we think it is, but we don't give a definitive, because we usually like to leave it up to the viewer what they think it is.
Sure. And I think that there's nothing wrong with that at all. No, yeah. I think that's great.
I'm not going to say, no, he's saying, no, it's kind of leave it up to everybody, because what I hear is sometimes different than what my husband hears.
Yeah, I've heard debates about. Yeah, exactly, right. You hear and people. I've heard people debate about what was said, what was not said. Yeah, it's crazy. So
it can get ugly sometimes.
Yeah. Well, that's the work. That's a hard work that people don't talk about, and I'm glad we're able to discuss that today. I mean, today even though we didn't get to a lot of deep-rooted paranormal discussions, we talked about things that I think are important. That aren't talked about. We're talked about a lot of things in the show about some of the struggles and some of the things behind the scenes that you don't expect are going to happen. You're not going to pick up a recording device and go find ghosts, this weekend. It's just not going to happen. So, and just being realistic about it. And that's why I can appreciate having conversations with yourself and other people, because you have put in the time. You put in thousands of hours into this, and you don't call yourself an expert, but I would say you're an expert in your field. I think that once you hit 4,000 5,000 hours in something, you're an expert in that field. So that's awesome. So we'll definitely get those pages, link to your pages. For now, if you're a subscriber and you're on the Discord, which you can find in the information below, you can join the Discord channel. I'm going to post some of your links there as a little incentive to some of our Twitch subscribers to find some of the page of the EVP. So if you want to go listen to some scary, spooky EVPs and formulate your own opinion on it, I'll post a link to that in the subscription channel of the Discord. And I'll post in a week, I'll post all the other links so you can find it openly and freely. So yeah, we'll kind of do that. I want to say let's also have Chad give some hype. I want to say thank you, Raven, so much for coming out, and thank you for taking the time. I know this ended up being a little bit longer than I expected, but you are a fountain of knowledge and a fountain of just great information. I really appreciate you taking your time out of your busy schedule and day to come hang out with us. It's fine.
No, it's fine. I love, talking to paranormal with people. It just, sometimes I get going and it just lasts 3 hours later.
Oh yeah. I mean, honestly, if I don't stop myself, we would end up going till 12 o'clock tonight. So, but thank you so much again. And if you want any more information from Raven or White Noise Paranormal, they have some actually really awesome videos on YouTube. And when their website's up, we'll have a link from this channel, YouTube channel that we'll upload to. So please check it out and see what they have going on. And I don't know. That's it, right? Thank you. Yeah, I think that's it. That's the whole kit and caboodle. I think we'll just end it off here. We always like to end the stream off with a very positive note. Stay happy, stay healthy. You do you, and you be you. This life's too short. It's too short to sit around and get upset and oh man, just you know what? Let it all go and enjoy yourself. And if you want to be on the fringe of society, you want to investigate, you want to check things out, do it. What's stopping you? Don't be afraid. Tie-dye hype. I see some tie-dye hypes going on. We got some tie-dye hypes. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming out, and we'll see you on the next one every Sunday, 7 p.m. If that changes, we'll let you know. Pacific time. Don't forget. Adios, friends, and take care.
Thanks.